Hey guys, just want to say thanks for tuning in today. Smash that subscribe button if you're new here, and as always, please like this video if you enjoy the stories. Now, let's get into the stories.
I didn't even mean to open Tinder that night. My phone was on 5%, and I was half asleep on my bed with the window cracked open, cold air crawling in, just scrolling because my brain wouldn't shut up. I remember thinking how dumb the app felt lately, like the same faces recycled over and over, the same bios pretending to be chill. Then her profile slid up, and it didn't feel recycled. It felt off in a way I couldn't explain, like when a room is quiet, but you still feel watched. Her pictures looked normal at first. Bad lighting selfies, one mirror pic, one outside at night with neon lights behind her. Nothing wild. What stuck was her face. Not scary, just too neutral, like it never quite landed on an emotion. Her bio was short and kind of messy, a few words about coffee and late walks, nothing clever. I swiped without thinking, more out of boredom than interest. We matched almost immediately, which should have been my first clue, but I didn't care. The app is fast like that sometimes. What was weird was how fast everything moved after. Not in a flirty way, not intense, just fast. It felt like filling out a form rather than getting to know someone. Where I live, what I do, what it looked like right now. I didn't even realize how many details I gave until later when I tried to replay it in my head. She suggested meeting the same night. Not a bar or her place or mine, just a late coffee spot near the highway. One of those places that never really closes and smells like burnt beans and cleaning spray. I said yes because I had nothing better to do, and I told myself I was being spontaneous, even though it felt more like drifting. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in the corner, back to the wall, phone face down. She looked like her pictures but flatter, but the camera had been doing more work than I thought. She didn't smile when she saw me, just nodded once, like she was checking something off. I remember thinking it was awkward but manageable. We sat. Time passed. I won't go into every detail because nothing she said stuck. That's the strange part. I can remember the sound of the espresso machine, the sticky table edge, the way the lights buzz overhead. I can't remember her voice. Not the tone, not the rhythm. It's like my brain read everything else but skipped her entirely. About 20 minutes in, she brought up Tinder verification. She said her account had been acting weird and the app kept pushing her to verify with someone else in the photo. She explained it in a rushed way, like she had practiced saying it. She insisted it would only take a second. Just a photo together. She said it was common now. I hesitated, but not for long. It felt rude to say no, plus it sounded harmless. I didn't think someone could do much with a random picture of me in a coffee shop. I leaned in, she lifted her phone, front camera, harsh flash, even though the place was already bright. She took 2 shots back to back, no smile, no checking the screen. Just done. Right after that, her mood shifted. Not dramatically, just like the battery died. She said she had to go, stood up, grabbed her jacket, and walked out without looking back. I sat there alone with my drink still hot, feeling like I missed a step somewhere. I didn't message her after. She didn't message me either. I figured it was just another weird Tinder thing. People vanish all the time. I went home, scrolled a bit more, then passed out with my phone still in my hand. The next morning I woke up to notifications stacked on my screen. Not texts. Tinder notifications. Way more than usual. Likes, matches, messages. At first I thought my profile got boosted or something. Then I opened the app. The first message I saw was from someone I didn't recognize. Her opener mentioned the coffee shop. Said she liked that place too. I thought it was a coincidence until I saw her profile picture. It was me. Not just me. Me and her. The same verification photo. Cropped slightly but unmistakable. My shoulder. My face. The ugly lighting. I froze and scrolled. Another profile. Different name. Same photo. Another. And another. Different bios. Different ages, different locations. But all using that same picture of us together. Some had filters slapped on. Some zoomed in. Some flipped. All real enough to pass as normal Tinder profiles. I checked my own profile to make sure I wasn't losing it. My pictures were unchanged. Nothing new added. Yet somehow I was being used as proof. As bait. As a face that said real person attached. Messages kept coming in, some casual, some overly familiar, some asking when we met, a few angry and accusing me of ghosting, of lying, of running multiple accounts. One message included a screenshot of a chat I had never had, with words I never typed, from a profile with my face attached to it. I tried reporting one of the accounts. Tinder asked if I knew the person, if I had met them, if I had consented. There was no option for what was actually happening. I tried again with another profile. Same process. It felt like yelling into a form. I spent the whole day refreshing, watching new profiles appear and old ones disappear. It was like playing whack-a-mole with my own face. I searched my name. Nothing. I searched her name. Dozens, slightly altered spellings, all using the same picture, all claiming to be real. By evening, I noticed something worse. Some profiles were set in cities I had never been to, far away, different states, different time zones. Yet the messages referenced things I had told her in that short meeting. My live situation, my job schedule, details that shouldn't matter but now felt exposed. I couldn't stop thinking about how cleanly she left, how she never checked the photo, how prepared she seemed. I went back through our chat history and realized something else. She never shared anything concrete about herself. No workplace, no friends, no routine, just questions. I tried to sleep, but my phone kept lighting up. One message said they were outside the coffee shop waiting for me. Another asked why I kept changing my name. One asked if the photo was stolen or if I was running some kind of game. My stomach felt hollow. The next day, Tinder locked my account. Said suspicious activity was detected. I appealed. I sent explanations, screenshots. Nothing came back except automated responses. Meanwhile, the profiles kept multiplying. I could see them from friends' phones. They would send me screenshots, half joking, half confused, asking why I was everywhere. Then one profile appeared that used a different photo. It was from the coffee shop. It was from my own account. One I recognized. A picture I took months ago in my room. Same angle, same wall, same shirt. I never sent that to her. Never shared it outside the app. That's when it clicked that the verification photo was the point. It was the key. Once that photo existed, it linked me to her accounts as real. Once that link was made, everything else was accessible, scraped, copied, repurposed. I deleted Tinder. It didn't help. The profiles stayed up. Some got reported. Others popped up. I searched image results and found my face on forums I didn't recognize, attached to posts about catfishing and fake accounts. Some people defending me, others accusing. Weeks passed. It slowed but never fully stopped. Every now and then a new message would slip through on some other app. Someone recognizing me, asking why I unmatched, asking if I was the same person from a different city. I never saw her again. Her original profile vanished completely. No trace. No way to report it because it no longer existed. Just the aftermath. Now when apps asked for verification photos with other people, I close them. When someone asks for a quick picture together, even in real life, my chest tightens. My face doesn't feel like mine online anymore. It feels borrowed, like it could show up anywhere without warning. I still think about that coffee shop sometimes. The buzzing lights, the flat look in her eyes, the way she nodded instead of smiling. It felt small then, like nothing. Now it feels like the moment everything quietly split. I didn't even plan on meeting anyone that day. I had my hair half done, my room messy, phone on charge because it kept dying. Tinder was just something I scrolled when my brain wouldn't slow down. I remember laying on my bed, ceiling fan clicking weird, thinking I should delete the app again. Then his profile popped up, and it didn't scream danger or romance or anything dramatic. It felt casual in a way that made me let my guard down without noticing. His pictures were normal in a boring way. Hoodie pics, one mirror photo with toothpaste dots on the glass, one outside in front of some arcade lights. His bio was short, kinda dumb, talking about late night snacks and beating high scores. I swiped mostly because it felt low effort and I didn't want anything intense. We matched and talked for a few days. Nothing deep. Memes, random thoughts, complaining about work and sleep schedules. It felt like talking to someone from school you don't really know but keep bumping into. Easy. I told my friend it felt safe, like nothing could really go wrong because there was nothing to lose. We met at this indoor arcade attached to a dying mall. Not the loud, flashy kind, more sad carpet, flickering machines, and that smell like old pizza and metal. I liked it because it wasn't romantic. Just games and noise and lights, less pressure. He was already there when I arrived, leaning against a claw machine that never worked. He looked like his photos, maybe a little more tired. Nothing stood out in a good or bad way. I remember thinking that this was fine. This was exactly what a normal Tinder meet was supposed to feel like. We walked around, played a few games, wasted coins. Time felt loose. My phone stayed in my bag most of the time because the signal sucked inside. I remember checking it once and seeing nothing important. Just notifications stacking quietly. At some point we sat down near the old air hockey tables that no one used anymore. He started talking about birthdays out of nowhere. Not in a deep way. Just complaining about how his always got forgotten or landed on bad days. It didn't feel like a question meant to pull something out of me. It felt like filler. When he asked when mine was, I answered without thinking. It didn't even register as personal. Birthdays feel public. Everyone knows them. Apps ask for them constantly. I never considered it sensitive info. I didn't see any reason to lie. He nodded like it was nothing. Didn't react. Didn't comment. Just moved on to another topic like he had already gotten what he needed. That should have stuck with me, but it didn't. The arcade lights kept flashing, machines buzzing, kids yelling somewhere behind us. My brain was scattered. About 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed in my bag, then again and again. I ignored it at first because I assumed it was spam or group chats. Then it kept vibrating nonstop in a way that felt wrong. Like when something urgent is happening, but you don't know what yet. I pulled it out and saw an email notification preview. Password reset request. Then another and another. My stomach dropped before I even unlocked the screen. When I opened my phone, everything hit at once. Emails flooding in. Alerts from an account I use daily. Then a message saying my password had been changed. Then another saying a new device was signed in. My hand started shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. I checked the time on the emails. They all started just minutes after I answered the birthday question. Not earlier, not later, right after. I tried logging in and got locked out immediately. Wrong password. Recovery email sent. Then another email saying the recovery email had been changed too. That wasn't possible. I never changed it. No one should have known the info needed to do that. I looked up and he was still sitting there, scrolling on his phone like nothing was happening. Not looking at me. Not reacting. Just calm. My head felt like it was buzzing louder than the machines around us. I stood up and walked a few steps away, pretending I needed space. My phone kept lighting up. Notifications stacking so fast I couldn't read them all. I tried using my backup email. Same thing. Locked out. I realized he didn't need much. My birthday. My email address, which I had mentioned earlier in a random story about work. Maybe my phone number, which Tinder had. Small pieces I never thought twice about. He didn't hack anything with skill. He just used the system the way it was built. Clicked forgot password. Entered my email. Answered the security check. Birthday. Done. When I came back, he looked up briefly. I couldn't look at him. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air in that stale arcade space. I grabbed my bag and left without saying anything. I didn't care how rude it looked. I didn't care if people stared. I walked fast through the mall, past empty stores and dim signs, my phone glued to my face as I tried to stop what was already done. By the time I got outside, it was raining lightly. My screen was smeared with fingerprints and raindrops. I stood under the overhang and tried to calm down while my account kept sending alerts about changes I was making. Then another notification hit, this one from a different app. Another account. Password reset. Same pattern. Same timing. He wasn't just messing with one thing. He was going through everything tied to that email and birthday. I called my friend while my hands were still shaking. My voice sounded wrong, thin, and rushed. I tried explaining while refreshing my inbox. More alerts. More confirmations. More doors closing. By the time I got home, he had unmatched me. His profile was gone. Like he was never there. No trace. No report option, just empty space where the chat used to be. I spent hours at reading help pages, sending recovery requests, proving my identity over and over. Some accounts I got back, others were gone completely. Usernames changed, profile pictures removed, messages read by someone else. The worst part wasn't losing access. It was realizing how fast it happened, how easily, how casually, all because of one detail I did protect because I didn't think it mattered. Days later, while I was still fixing things, I got an email confirmation from a delivery service I never signed up for. Then a receipt, a small charge, $12, for something sent to an address I didn't recognize. I canceled it immediately, but it proved he was done right away. He tested how far he could go. I checked my Tinder again weeks later with a new account. His profile popped up under a different name. Same pictures, same dumb bio, same arcade lights in the background, like nothing happened. I didn't swipe. I just stared until my phone dimmed. Now whenever someone asks small questions like that, casual ones, I feel my stomach tighten. Not fear exactly, just awareness, like my brain keeps score now whether I want it to or not. Some accounts never came back. Some messages I never read because someone else got to them first. Some parts of my online life feel like they were walked through by a stranger wearing my name. The date itself barely matters anymore. The arcade, the rain, the mall, all of that feels distant. What stuck was the timing. The calm way it happened right in front of me. How nothing about him seemed rushed or messy, just patient. It didn't end with a big reveal or confrontation. It just stopped. He disappeared and left me to clean up the mess in silence. I always thought fear questions were fake deep, like the kind people ask when they want to sound emotional without actually getting close. So when Tinder threw me her profile late one night, I wasn't expecting anything real. I was half asleep on my couch, tea glowing blue, phone warm in my hand, scrolling without aim. Then I stopped because something about her page felt weirdly calm. Not exciting, not dramatic, just quiet in a way that made me slow down. Her pictures were soft and normal. Library lighting, bus stop selfies, one blurry photo near a river at night. She didn't look like she was trying to sell anything. Her bio barely said anything, just a line about liking late walks and honest people. It didn't feel clever. It felt like someone waiting. We matched and talked for a bit. Nothing rushed, nothing flirty, just random thoughts and observations. It felt like talking to someone who had time, which made me feel like I had time too. I remember thinking it was a relief not to perform. We decided to meet that same evening. Not for a drink, not food, just a walk. There was this long pedestrian bridge near the industrial side of town that crossed over train tracks and warehouses. No cars, just wind, lights, and the sound of metal far below. It was one of those places people forget exists. She was already there when I arrived, leaning on the railing, looking down at nothing. She turned when she noticed me, but didn't rush over. Just waited. We started walking side by side, footsteps echoing on concrete. The conversation stayed light at first. Background stuff, work schedules, music tastes, how the city feels empty at night. Then out of nowhere she brought up fears. Not in a joking way. Not dramatic. Just calm curiosity, like she was making a list. She asked me to be honest. Said everyone lies about that stuff. I laughed it off at first, named something small. Heights. Then she waited and didn't move on. Didn't fill the silence. The bridge lights hummed above us, and I felt weirdly exposed just standing there. So I kept going. I told her about the things I usually never say out loud. Being trapped in small spaces. Waking up and not being able to move. Losing control of my accounts and not knowing who was watching. Being alone in a crowd and realizing no one would help if something went wrong. Stuff I never frame as fears but feel anyway. She listened quietly. No reaction. No comfort. Just nodded like she was storing it somewhere. When I finished, I felt stupid for saying so much, like I overshared to a stranger for no reason. She smiled then, not warm, more like amused. She said it was interesting how specific people get when they feel safe. Then she laughed. It wasn't loud, just a quick breathy sound that felt out of place on that empty bridge. The walk-in did not long after. No big goodbye. We just separated at opposite ends and went home. I remember checking my phone once before bed and seeing nothing unusual. No new messages. No weird alerts. I fell asleep thinking the night was just another forgettable meet. I woke up to my phone vibrating beside my pillow. Not a call. A notification. Then another and another. My chest tightened before I even unlocked the screen. The first thing I saw was a message from an unknown number. No text preview. Just an image attached. I opened it and my stomach dropped. It was a photo of the bridge, taken from behind where we had walked. Blurry but recognizable. Timestamp late after I had left. Another message came in right after. A short video clip. Dark. Cramped. Someone breathing close to the camera. The frame barely showed anything but a corner of a wall and a flickering light. It hit too close to one of the things I told her. Then my email lit up. Security alert. Login attempt from a new device. Another alert saying my password was requested. Not changed yet. Just requested. Like a warning. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, room suddenly feeling too small. My phone kept buzzing. Images. Short clips. Screenshots of my social media pages, my name circled, my profile zoomed in. Not hacked yet. Just shown, like proof. Then came a voice note. I didn't want to open it, but my thumb moved anyway. It wasn't words, just laughter. Soft. Familiar. The same laugh from the bridge. Short, controlled. Like she found something funny she didn't need to explain. I felt sick. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the phone onto the bed. Everything lined up too perfectly. Every fear I named was being touched, one by one, without crossing fully into damage. Just enough to let me know it could. I checked Tinder. Our match was gone. Her profile disappeared. Like it never existed. No name to report. No chat history to read. Just empty space. Another message came in with a location pin. Not my exact address, but close enough to know it wasn't random. A block away. The time matched when I was still asleep. I didn't respond to anything. I just sat there, watching, waiting, trying to breathe through it. The threats never said what would happen. They didn't need to. They were tailored too well. Hours passed like that. Messages slowed, then stopped. My accounts stayed intact. Nothing was fully taken, just tested. Later that night, as the sky darkened again, my phone buzzed one last time. A new number. A single image. A screenshot of the Notes app. My fears listed out in plain text. Everyone I told her. Spelled exactly how I said them. At the bottom, a time stamp from when we were still on the bridge. Then another voice note came in. Same laugh. A little longer this time. Like she was enjoying how quiet everything had become. After that, nothing. No more messages. No follow-up. No escalation. It just ended. I didn't sleep that night. I sat with all the lights on, phone charging, refreshing my accounts, checking locks, windows, email logs. Everything stayed still. Like the storm passed without breaking anything. Days went by. Nothing happened. No one showed up. No more messages. I changed passwords, turned on extra security, deleted Tinder, tried to move on. But the fear didn't fade. It rearranged itself. Now when someone asks personal questions, my brain runs ahead, mapping how the answer could be used. Now when my phone buzzes late at night, my body reacts before my thoughts catch up. Sometimes when I cross that bridge, I slow down without meaning to. I look at the railing where we stood. I remember how safe I felt talking into the dark. I'd never heard from her again, but I know she didn't need to come back. I should have noticed how firm he was about picking the bar. Not excited, not picky, just decided. Like it was the suggestion at all. I was on my bed, phone balanced on my chest, half watching a show I was even following. Tinder felt like background noise that night, just something to fill the quiet. When his message came through, it didn't stand out. It felt normal. Too normal. His profile didn't scream anything. Baseball cap pics, One group photo where everyone looked the same, one blurry night shot. His bio was lazy but not annoying. Something about liking strong drinks and loud music. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just something to do on a Friday that didn't involve scrolling until my eyes hurt. We talked for a couple days, short messages. Jokes that landed but didn't stick. He kept bringing up this bar downtown, said it was his spot, said it was better than anywhere else. I suggested a different place once, closer to me and quieter. He brushed it off without explaining why. Just said trust him. I remember feeling a small pinch of irritation, but it passed. I didn't want to argue over a drink. The bar was in a part of town I didn't go to much, tucked between old brick buildings and a tattoo shop with a flickering sign. When I walked up, I could hear music thumping through the walls. Not club loud, just constant. Kind that never gives you silence. He was already inside when I arrived, standing near the bar, drink in hand, laughing with the bartender. Not a quick laugh either. Comfortable, familiar, like someone who belonged there. When he saw me, he waved without breaking the conversation. It felt weird, but I told myself I was overthinking. The place was dim, but not cozy. Neon signs on the walls, mismatched stools, mirrors behind the bar that made everything feel doubled. There were more people than I expected for a weekday night. Groups clustered together, all seeming to know each other. Not in a friendly way, more like a closed loop. As I walked over, I felt eyes on me. Not staring, just tracking. Quick glances that did drop when I noticed them. I blamed my nerves. First date jitters. Nothing more. We sat at the bar. The bartender nodded at him, then looked at me like she was already aware of me. Not curious. Aware, my drink came without much talk. I didn't even remember ordering it. I remember thinking it tasted stronger than usual. Every few minutes someone came up to him. Shoulder pats, inside jokes, comments I didn't understand. No introductions. No effort to include me. I just sat there smiling when I was looked at, pretending I was slowly shrinking into myself. The longer we stayed, the more obvious it became. He didn't just know people there. He knew everyone. The servers, the guy running sound, the group by the pool table. Even the couple arguing quietly in the corner nodded at him like they recognized him. What got to me was that he was popular. It was how they looked at me. Not curious. Not friendly. More like they were observing something unfold. Like they were waiting for something. I excused myself to the bathroom just to breathe. The hallway was narrow, walls covered in band posters and stickers peeling at the edges. When I pushed the bathroom door open, there were two girls at the sink. They stopped talking when they saw me. Not abruptly, just enough to notice. One of them looked me up and down in a way that felt practiced, like she was checking off details. Hair, clothes, face. Then she smiled, small and tight, and turned back to the mirror. I locked myself in a stall and sat there longer than I needed to. My phone buzzed in my bag, but I didn't check it. I just listened to the muffled music and the sound of my own breathing. I told myself to finish the drink and leave. No scene, just go. When I came back out, he wasn't at the bar anymore. He was standing across the room, leaning in close to a group of people. All of them turned their heads at the same time when they saw me. It was subtle, but it hit hard, like a spotlight flipped on. He waved me over instead of coming to me. I hesitated, then walked across the room feeling way too visible. Every step felt loud, even though the music didn't stop. As I stood there, I realized something else. They all knew my name, not because he said it just then, because they already had. I could tell by how a couple of them smiled, like they recognized me from a story they already heard. My phone buzzed again. This time I pulled it out. It was a notification from a private social app I barely used. Someone had viewed my profile. Then another, all within minutes. When I checked the usernames, my stomach dropped. They matched the names of people he had just introduced himself to earlier when I've overheard. They had found me. Easily, quickly, like they were waiting for the green light. I scanned the room again and noticed how many phones were out. Not filming. Just angled, like people checking screens while still watching me. Reflections in the mirrors made it worse. I couldn't tell who was looking directly and who was just reflected. He finally came back over, acting relaxed, like this was the best night ever. He leaned in close, closer than before, his voice low enough that I couldn't hear over the music even if I wanted to. I pulled back slightly, and he smiled wider like that reaction pleased him. I said I needed to go. Not dramatic, just calm. His smile didn't drop. He nodded like he expected that, like it was part of the plan. As I grabbed my bag, someone slid into the seat next to mine, blocking the easiest path out. Not aggressively, just there. Another person stood behind me pretending to wait for a drink. I felt boxed in without anyone touching me. My phone buzzed again. A new follow request. Then a message request. Then another. All from people inside the bar. One message preview mentioned my jacket. Another mentioned how quiet I was. I pushed past the stool and moved toward the door. No one stopped me. No one needed to. The watching was enough. When I stepped outside, the night air hit me hard. Cold and sharp. I walked fast, not running, but not slowing either. I didn't look back until I'd reached the corner. The bar door was still open, light spilling out. A couple of people stood in the doorway, watching me leave like it was the end of a show. I didn't go straight home. I walked 3 extra blocks, turned twice, ducked into a convenience store just to stand under the bright lights. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages kept coming in. Nothing explicit. Just comments that proved they knew where I had been sitting, what I drank, how long I stayed. One message came from him, not asking if I was okay. Just a casual note saying everyone thought I was interesting. I blocked him, then blocked everyone else, then deleted the app entirely while standing between shelves of chips and soda. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. For days after, I kept seeing them online, suggested friends, suggested follows. Views on my stories from accounts I didn't recognize but somehow recognized me. I avoided that part of town, avoided bars altogether. When I passed groups of people laughing together, I wondered how many of them already knew things about strangers they had never met. Nothing else happened. No confrontation, no apology, just a quiet understanding that I had walked into something I was never meant to question. The bar is still there. I pass it sometimes on the bus, lights on, door open, full of people who look like they belong. I never went back. The first weird thing wasn't her going to the bathroom. It was how normal everything felt before that. Like my brain couldn't find anything to flag, so it relaxed too early. I was at this late-night diner off a service road, the kind that stays open because truckers pass through and insomniacs need somewhere to sit. Yellow lights, cracked booths, the smell of fryer oil stuck in the air. I picked it because it felt neutral, public, safe. I got there early and slid into a booth near the window. Rain was tapping against the glass in short bursts, not heavy enough to be dramatic. I remember thinking it was a good sign. Boring weather, boring place, nothing memorable. Her profile had stood out much. A couple selfies, one in a hoodie, one in a bathroom mirror that looked like every other bathroom mirror on the app. Her bio barely said anything. Just that she hated loud places and liked food that wasn't trying too hard. It matched the diner vibe, so I went with it. She showed up a few minutes late, apologetic but calm. She looked like her photos, maybe a little more tired. Not in a bad way, just real. We ordered drinks and talked about random stuff. Work schedules, sleep being messed up, how apps feel like chores sometimes. It didn't feel forced. It felt like 2 people killing time. About 15 minutes in, she excused herself to the bathroom. Casual. No rush. I didn't think anything of it. People do that. I checked my phone, scrolled, watched a car pull into the parking lot outside. She came back a few minutes later and picked up right where we left off. No weirdness, no tension. Then maybe 10 minutes after that, she did it again. Stood up, grabbed her phone, said she'd be right back. Still normal. Maybe she was nervous. Maybe too much soda. When she didn't come back after a while, I checked the time. 12 minutes, then 15. I started to wonder if she left. I looked toward the hallway that led to the bathrooms. Empty. I didn't see her walk past the windows outside either. I opened Tinder without really knowing why. Maybe boredom. Maybe habit. Her chat was still there. I clicked her profile. The distance read 0 miles. That made sense at first. She was still in the building. Then I realized something. The app usually updates in small jumps. 1 mile, 2. Sometimes it lags. But 0 miles meant right here, basically on top of me. She came back a minute later, smiling like nothing happened. Apologized again, sat down, kept talking. I let it go. Then she did it a third time. This time I watched more closely. She walked down the hallway, turned the corner, and disappeared. I waited 5 minutes. 10. My stomach started to feel tight. Not fear yet, just confusion. I checked Tinder again, 0 miles. I locked my phone and tried to relax. Maybe the gust was off. Maybe the building messed with it. I told myself I was overthinking. Then my phone buzzed with a notification from Tinder. Location updated, 0 miles. That was new. It didn't usually notify me unless someone swiped nearby. I'd opened the app. Her profile refreshed on its own. Still 0 miles, still active. I glanced toward the hallway again. Empty. I slid out of the booth and walked halfway down the aisle, pretending to stretch. I could see the bathroom door now. It was closed. No feet visible under the stall gaps through the cracked door window. No sound. I went back to the booth before anyone noticed me pacing. When she came back again, I asked if everything was okay. She nodded quickly, too quickly, and took a sip of her drink. Her hands were steady. Her face was calm. That made it worse. She left her phone on the table this time when she stood up again, face down, right next to my arm. She said she'd be back fast. As soon as she turned the corner, I stared at the phone like it was something alive. It buzzed once. Then again. Notifications lighting the screen briefly before going dark. I didn't touch it. I just watched. I opened Tinder on my own phone again. 0 miles. The dot pulsed slightly like it was actively tracking. That's when it clicked that the app was tracking her. It was tracking the phone she left on the table, right next to me. My chest started to pound. If she was with the phone, where was she? And why did she need the app to show her still here? I scanned the diner. There weren't many people. A couple in the corner booth. An older guy at the counter. A waitress refilling coffee. No one looked at me. No one looked toward the hallway. I stood up and walked toward the bathrooms for real this time. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open slowly. The bathroom was empty. No stalls closed. No bags, no sounds. Just fluorescent lights buzzing and the faint smell of cleaner. I checked both stalls, even though it felt stupid. Nothing. My pulse was loud in my ears as I walked back out. The hallway felt longer than before. When I reached the booth, her phone was still there. Untouched. My phone buzzed again. Tinder. Distance updated, 0 miles. Then another notification popped up. Someone nearby liked you. I didn't swipe. I didn't even open it. I just grabbed my jacket and picked up her phone without thinking. It felt heavier than it should have. Warm. The lock screen lit up as I moved it. Dozens of notifications. Not calls. App alerts. Location updates. Tinder refreshing over and over. One notification preview caught my eye. Location spoof active. My stomach dropped. I set the phone back down like it burned me. I backed away from the table and looked around again. Still no sign of her. Then I felt it. That sense of being too aware. Like when you realize you're the only one moving in a room. The couple in the corner had gone quiet. The guy at the counter had turned slightly. Not staring. Just angled. I walked toward the exit. Slow. Controlled. I didn't run. I didn't want to draw attention. As I reached the door, my phone buzzed again. Tinder message. From her. No text preview. Just typing dots that appeared and disappeared. I pushed the door open and stepped into the rain. Cold drops hitting my face, grounding me just enough. I kept walking toward my car without looking back. Halfway there, my phone buzzed again. Message delivered. I didn't open it. I got in my car, locked the doors, and drove off. 2 blocks away, I finally pulled over and checked the app. The chat was gone. Unmatched. Her profile disappeared. I checked the distance one last time before it vanished. 0 miles. Even though I was driving. Later that night, when I got home, I checked my phone logs. My location services had been pinged multiple times during the date. Not by Tinder. By another app I didn't recognize. something I had downloaded months ago and forgotten about. I deleted it, then deleted Tinder, then sat on my bed listening to the rain hit the window, trying to understand how close she had stayed without being there at all. I never heard from her again, but sometimes when my phone refreshes a little too often or an app updates when it shouldn't, I think about that diner booth, the phone on the table, the distance that never changed. The moment that stuck wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and clean and happened so fast my brain didn't catch up until it was already too late. I keep replaying it because everything before that felt normal enough that I didn't build any defenses. I was relaxed in a way I'd not usually let myself be with strangers, and that made the rest hit harder. We met on Tinder during one of those weeks where everyone feels fake and recycled. His profile didn't feel like that. Not exciting, not intense, just low effort in a way that felt honest. Messy room selfies, one photo from a parking garage at night, put up, face half in shadow. His bio was short and weirdly blunt about not liking small talk. I like that because I hate pretending too. We messaged for about a week. Nothing heavy, nothing flirty, just long rambly texts about random stuff. Internet rabbit holes, weird habits, stories about childhood pets. It felt like a slow burn friendship more than a date setup, which made me feel safe enough to meet. He suggested a cafe inside a used bookstore that stayed open late. I loved that idea immediately. Shelves packed tight, dusty smell, soft lights, people minding their own business. It felt like a place where nothing bad would happen. When I walked in, he was already there, sitting at a table near the back with a stack of books beside him. He looked like his photos, but more put together. Calm posture, steady eye contact. Nothing about him set off alarms. We ordered drinks and talked. Real talking, not performance talking. Time moved weirdly like it does when you forget to check your phone. I remember noticing how quiet my head felt. No constant second guessing. No scanning for exits. Just present. About halfway through, he pulled his phone out and checked something. I didn't think anything of it. People do that all the time. Then he angled the phone slightly toward himself and tapped the screen in a way I recognized instantly. The screen flashed white for a split second. That sound. The screenshot sound. My body reacted before my brain did. I felt my shoulders tense, my stomach dip. He noticed my face change and smiled like he thought it was funny. He explained casually that he liked to save conversations in case he needed to reference them later. Context, he called it, like it was a normal habit, like everyone does that. I laughed it off because that's what I do when I'm uncomfortable. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. Screenshots aren't illegal. People save chats all the time. But this was different. He didn't do it secretly. He did it right in front of me like he wanted me to know. After that, something shifted. Not sharply, just slightly, like a door didn't close all the way. We kept talking, but I started noticing things I hadn't before. How often he checked his phone. How he glanced at me right after typing something. How he asked questions that lined up too perfectly with things I had already mentioned in the chat. At one point, he referenced a detail I was sure I had only typed once, late at night, buried in a long message days ago. I asked how he remembered that. He shrugged and said he was good with details. I nodded, but my chest felt tight. When I went to the counter to grab napkins, I caught my reflection in the glass door. I looked smaller than I felt a few minutes earlier, like I had folded in on myself without noticing. When I sat back down, I saw his phone screen light up again. A gallery view. Rows of images. White blocks of text. Chat screenshots. Not just ours. Dozens. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to know more. The rest of the date felt stretched, like I was waiting for something to happen, but didn't know what. He stayed friendly, polite. Nothing crossed a clear line. That almost made it worse. We left separately. No awkward goodbye, no tension. He said he had fun. I said the same because it felt easier than processing anything. On the walk home, I opened Tinder and scrolled back through our chat. Everything was still there. Nothing missing. But now it felt exposed. like it existed somewhere else too, frozen and saved. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that word he used, context, like my words were evidence, like they might need to be explained someday. The next morning, I woke up to a notification from a social app I'd barely used anymore. Someone had followed me. The username looked familiar. One of the things he mentioned liking in our chat. Obscure enough that it couldn't be random. I checked my message requests. Nothing yet, but my profile view count had jumped. Over the next few days, it kept happening. Subtle things. Profile views. Follows. Likes on old posts I forgot existed. Always tied back to something I had said in the chat. A band I mentioned liking years ago. A joke I made once. A photo location I forgot I ever posted. It felt like being read by someone who had access to a version of me I couldn't see anymore. I unmatched him on Tinder. Not dramatically, just quietly. The chat disappeared from my side, but that didn't bring relief. It felt pointless, like locking a door after copies of the key were already made. 2 days later, I got a message request from an account with no photo. Just text. The message referenced our date without naming it. Mentioned the bookstore, the table near the back, something I wore. My heart started racing so fast I had to sit down. I didn't respond. I blocked the account. Then another followed. Different username. Same tone. Same calm familiarity. I started locking down everything. Privating accounts. Removing old posts. Changing usernames. It helped a little, but not completely. One night, I got an email notification from a cloud service I forgot I had. New login detected. Different device. Same city. I reset the password immediately. Then another email came in. Password reset requested. Not completed, just requested, like a reminder. I thought about the screenshots again. About how much context someone could build with enough pieces. How words taken out of time could be reshaped. Nothing ever fully exploded. No big confrontation. No message spelling everything out. Just this slow awareness that my digital footprint wasn't just mine anymore. Weeks passed. The activity slowed. Then stopped. Or maybe I just stopped noticing. It's hard to tell. Sometimes I still think about that cafe, the quiet shelves, the warm lights, how safe it felt right before it didn't. I don't know what he needed the context for. I don't know if he ever used it. I just know that moment rewired how I talk to people online. Not scared, just careful in a way I was before. Somewhere out there, pieces of me exist in neat little rectangles, time-stamped and stored, waiting to make sense to someone else. I didn't think anything bad could come from a phone in someone else's hands for a minute. That's the part that still bugs me. I was distracted or drunk or rushing. I was clear-headed, sitting upright, watching everything happen in real time. I just didn't think it would turn into anything because it felt so boring at the start. We met on Tinder during one of those stretches where every day feels the same and you just want something to break the pattern. Her profile wasn't flashy. Low-effort selfies, soft lighting, nothing posed. Her bio mentioned hating glitches and loving things that just work. I remember laughing at that because Tinder barely ever works right. We talked for a week. Nothing deep. Mostly complaining about apps, phones dying too fast, updates breaking things. It felt casual in a way that made me trust her without realizing I was doing it. She never pushed for anything personal. Never asked questions that felt loaded. It was easy. We met at a small bubble tea place tucked under an apartment building. Bright lights, plastic chairs, loud fridge hum. Not romantic at all. I liked that. It felt like a place where you could leave fast if you wanted to. She was already there, sitting at a corner table with her phone plugged into a portable charger. She smiled when she saw me, waved, stood up. Normal. Grounded, nothing off. We ordered drinks and sat down. Talked about work and how phones seemed to listen more than they should. She joked about how her Tinder had been acting weird all day. Freezing, loading forever, not updating messages. I nodded because Tinder bugs are basically a feature at this point. About 20 minutes in, she sighed and tilted her phone toward me. Showed me the app stuck on a loading screen. She said it usually fixed itself when she logged out and back in, but it wasn't letting her. Then she asked if I could log into my account on her phone to see if it was the app or her phone. It sounded dumb and technical and harmless. I hesitated for maybe 2 seconds. Then I told myself it was fine. I wasn't giving her my phone. I was just typing my info into hers. I could log out right after. I typed in my email and password while she looked away, stirring her drink. The app loaded instantly. My profile popped up on her screen like it always did. My pictures, my bio, my matches. She leaned over and laughed, said, "See, it's not the app." Then she handed the phone back to me and told me to log out. I did. I watched the screen go back to the login page. I handed the phone back. She thanked me, and that was it. No drama. No weird look. Just another small moment and a boring date. We stayed another half hour, finished our drinks, talked about nothing important. Then we left. Separate ways. Normal goodbye. I walked home thinking it was one of the easiest meets I'd had in a while. That night I was lying on my couch, TV on low, scrolling mindlessly when my phone buzzed. Tinder notification, new message. I opened it expecting some generic hey. Instead, it was a response to a message I had never sent. I stared at the screen, reread it, scrolled up. There it was. My profile had sent a long message to someone I had never seen before. Not a match I recognized. Not someone I had swiped on. The message wasn't flirty or aggressive. It was detailed, personal, written in a tone that wasn't mine. My stomach dropped. I checked the timestamp. It was sent about 20 minutes after I left the bubble tea place. I refreshed the app. Another notification came in. Another reply. Different person. Same thing. My profile sending messages without me touching anything. I checked my sent messages tab. It was filling up in real time. Profiles I didn't recognize. Faces I'd never seen. My words, but not really my words. I locked my phone and unlocked it again like that would reset reality. Then I opened Tinder on my laptop. Same thing. Messages going out. Active status showing I was online. I tried changing my password immediately. The app froze. Error message. I tried again. Password reset email sent. While I waited, another message went out from my account. This one referenced a detail from my bio that I hadn't thought about in months. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. I finally got the reset email and changed everything. Logged out of all devices. Turned on extra security. The messages stopped. I sat there breathing hard, trying to understand how that just happened. Then I remembered her phone. The login. The way she watched the app load. The fact that her phone was already plugged in, already set up. I checked my email activity. There was a login from a device I didn't recognize. Same time, same area. The next morning, I woke up to replies. Angry ones. Confused ones. Some accusing me of being fake. Some asking why I unmatched right after sending such a long message. My inbox was a mess. I tried explaining to a few people. It sounded ridiculous even to me. Sorry, my account was hijacked during a date. They didn't respond. Then I noticed something worse. The messages that went out weren't random. They were targeted. People with specific interests I had mentioned in chats before. Places near where I live. Stuff that would make the message feel real. She didn't just send spam. She used my patterns. I reported the account issue to Tinder. Automated response. Investigation pending. They suggested I secure my account and be careful with my login info. No explanation. No help undoing the damage. Out of curiosity, I checked her profile. Still there. Active. Distance updated. Her bio unchanged. I didn't message her. I didn't want to tip her off. I just watched. 2 days later, my Tinder account got flagged. Temporarily restricted due to suspicious activity. I couldn't message anyone. Couldn't explain myself. Just locked out in a quiet way that felt like being erased. That night, I got a message on a different app. One I barely used anymore. No profile picture. Just text. It referenced the bubble tea place. The corner table. The charger. My chest tightened. I didn't respond. The next day, Tinder deleted my account entirely. No appeal. No warning. Just gone. I made a new one weeks later with a different email, different photos, different bio. I swiped out of curiosity more than hope. Her profile came up again. Same pictures, same bio about hating glitches. Distance read close. I didn't swipe. I closed the app and deleted it again. Every once in a while, I still think about how simple it was. No tricks, no pressure. Just a borrowed phone and a small favor. My profile said things I never did. Reach people I never chose. Burn bridges I didn't know existed. Nothing else happened after that. No follow-up message. No explanation. Just silence. I still use my phone the same way. Same apps, same habits. But I never log into anything on someone else's device now. Not even for a second. I still remember the exact second my stomach dropped because nothing loud or scary happened. There was no jump moment. No obvious threat. It was just a sentence that slid into the room and changed the temperature. The kind of thing you only realize is wrong after it already landed. We hadn't even met yet. We matched late on a Sunday night, one of those quiet nights where the city feels paused and everyone is half bored, half lonely. His profile didn't stand out in any obvious way. Regular photos, nothing flashy. One picture in a car, one in a messy room, one outside at night with bad lighting. His bio was short and kind of dry, just saying he liked calm spaces and hated crowded bars. It felt safe, predictable. We talked for about a week. Slow messages. No rush. No pressure. He was trying to impress me, and I wasn't trying to perform. It felt like passing notes rather than flirting. I liked that. It made me lower my guard without realizing it. We planned to meet eventually, but schedules didn't line up right away. So most nights we just texted while doing our own things. Him saying he was up late. Me saying I was curled up on my couch. Casual details that didn't feel important at the time. One night, I mentioned how I had finally rearranged my apartment, and it felt more livable. Not in detail, just a comment. He reacted more than I expected, saying layout mattered more than people think. I agreed and didn't think twice about it. Later that same night, while we were still talking, he started asking what I was doing right then. I told him I was sitting on my couch with my laptop open, half watching something I wasn't really paying attention to. That's when he said I was probably sitting in the wrong spot. I laughed at first, assuming he meant posture or something dumb. Then he kept going. He said I would feel more comfortable if I moved closer to the armrest, the one on the side nearest the wall, not the open space. He said it helps people feel grounded. My smile faded a little. My couch did have an armrest on the side closest to the wall. I was sitting on the opposite side. I told myself it was a coincidence. Couches usually have armrests. Walls are common. I didn't say anything about it. Then he added that if I turned slightly, I could see the kitchen entrance without fully facing it, which would make the room feel less exposed. That was the part that made my hands go cold. My couch sat at an angle that partially faced the kitchen doorway. Not straight on, not completely away, exactly how he described. I didn't respond right away. My phone felt heavier than before. My apartment suddenly felt louder, like I could hear the fridge hum more clearly, the faint traffic outside, the tick of the clock I always ignored. He kept typing. He said most one-bedroom apartments in my area were laid out the same way. Couch against the longest wall. Kitchen opening to the left. Small hallway leading to the bedroom on the opposite side. He said people don't realize how predictable these buildings are. My apartment wasn't a one-bedroom. It was a studio with a partial wall separating the sleeping area, something I had never mentioned. He said the partial wall probably didn't reach the ceiling, that it created a false sense of separation without blocking sound. He said that's why studios can feel uncomfortable at night. My throat went dry. The partial wall in my place stopped about a foot short of the ceiling. I stood up without really thinking and walked a slow circle around my apartment, like moving would help me understand what was happening. Nothing had changed. Nothing was wrong physically, but it felt like someone had just stepped into the room without opening the door. I asked how he knew all that, trying to keep it light. He said he just paid attention, that he liked understanding how people moved in their spaces. Then he said something that still makes my skin crawl when I think about it. He said if I wanted to feel really comfortable, I should sit on the floor instead, back against the couch, facing the partial wall. That way my back would be protected and I wouldn't feel watched from the kitchen. I was sitting on the couch, but earlier that evening I had been on the floor in that exact spot, laptop propped on my knees, because the couch felt awkward that day. I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him anything. I walked into my bathroom and locked the door even though I was alone. My heart was beating fast now, not panic. Just a steady, heavy thud like my body was trying to warn me before my brain caught up. I checked his profile again. Same photos, same bio, nothing new. I scrolled through our chat history looking for clues. Had I sent a photo by accident? Had I mentioned something without realizing it? But there was nothing. No layout details. No descriptions. Just casual talk. I opened my camera and scanned my apartment, checking for anything out of place. Nothing. No signs of anyone ever being there. When I came back to the chat, he had sent another message. He said I probably kept your shoes near the door instead of in the closet because the closet was too shallow. He said most people in places like mine did that. My shoes were lined up by the door because the closet door didn't fully open if I put anything inside it. I felt dizzy. I sat on the edge of the tub and stared at the floor tiles. Counting them like that would anchor me. I asked him if he had ever been in my building. He said no. That added that he didn't need to be. He said buildings leave patterns online. Listings, floor plans, maintenance photos, even reviews. He said if you know the area and the year it was built, you can narrow things down fast. That explanation should have calmed me, but it didn't, because I had never told him my address. Not even the neighborhood name. Just the city, which was huge. He said earlier that he hated crowded bars. I realized he had never suggested meeting anywhere public. Every time I brought it up, he steered the conversation back to comfort, quiet, private, familiar spaces. He sent one more message that night. He said I should lock my door before sitting down anywhere. Not because of him, just because it helps people relax when they know the door is secured. I locked the bathroom door again even though it already was. Then I locked my front door, then checked it twice. I didn't respond after that. I told myself I would answer in the morning when my head was clearer. I barely slept. Every small sound made me sit up. The partial wall felt useless now. The apartment felt mapped. In the morning, I checked Tinder. His profile was gone. Unmatched. No trace, like he had never existed. That should have been a relief. It wasn't. For weeks after, I couldn't sit comfortably anywhere in my apartment. Every spot felt chosen, predicted. When I moved my couch, it felt pointless, like I was just confirming something he already knew. Nothing else happened. No messages. No sign he ever tried to reach out again. But sometimes when I sit down without thinking, I catch myself adjusting my position, angling my body, checking what I can see from where I am. And every time I do, I wonder if it still matches the spot he picked for me. The first thing I remember from that night is how loud my own laugh sounded to me. Not because it was wild or out of control, but because it didn't feel like it belonged to the room. It echoed back wrong like a bad recording. That's when I should have slowed down. Instead, I kept going, because everything around me felt normal enough to ignore that tiny signal. I matched with her earlier that week while half watching clips on my phone, thumb moving out of habit more than interest. Her profile was bright in a casual way. Messy selfies, warm lighting, one video of her spinning around with a drink in her hand, smiling like she didn't care who was watching. Her bio joked about bad decisions and strong drinks. It felt playful and not serious. We talked for a few days. Nothing deep. Jokes, gifts, complaining about work, laughing about how people take apps too seriously. She suggested meeting for drinks and picked a rooftop bar near downtown. I almost said no because I wasn't really in the mood, but I told myself I needed to get out of my head. The bar was packed when I got there. String lights overhead, music bouncing off concrete, people standing too close together. She waved at me from a table already crowded with empty glasses. She looked exactly like her pictures, maybe more confident in person. Like she knew how to take up space. We ordered drinks, then more drinks. She kept insisting I try different things, saying it was part of the fun. Every time I hesitated, she laughed it off and pushed another glass toward me. Not aggressively, just persistent enough that saying no felt awkward. At some point, I noticed her phone was always in her hand, not texting, just held up casually, sometimes angled toward me, sometimes toward the table. She said she liked taking little clips to remember nights by. I shrugged. People film everything now. The drinks hit me faster than I expected. Rooftop air, noise, lights, all blending together. My head felt fuzzy but not spinning. I was still aware, still present, just slower. She kept encouraging me. Another sip, another glass, saying I was fine, saying I'd barely looked tipsy. Every time I said I should slow down, she smiled and said it wasn't even that late. I remember laughing again, louder this time, reacting to something she said. I noticed her phone was pointed right at me when it happened. The screen reflected the lights behind me. She lowered it quickly when she saw me notice. I didn't think much of it. I didn't want to be that person who overanalyzes everything. I told myself she was just capturing the vibe. The night blurred after that. Not blackout, just patchy, standing at the railing, sitting back down. Another drink appearing in front of me, her voice staying clear while mine started to drag. At one point, I knocked my glass over and it spilled across the table. People laughed. I laughed too, embarrassed but trying to play it off. She filmed that too. I know she did because I saw the screen light up. Eventually, I said I needed to go. She didn't argue, but she didn't rush either. She walked me to the elevator, phone still in hand, filming little pieces of the hallway, the mirror, us reflected together. Outside, the air felt colder, sharper. I remember leaning against the wall for a second just to steady myself. She laughed and said I was fine. Then she hugged me and stepped back, phone angled again, catching my face under the streetlight. I got home somehow. Keys and door. Shoes kicked off. Phone tossed on the couch. I fell asleep without even changing. I woke up late the next morning with a headache that felt like pressure behind my eyes. My mouth was dry. My phone buzzed beside me, screen lighting up with notifications. The first one was from a friend. Then another. Then another. All saying variations of the same thing, asking if I was okay, asking what happened, asking why my face was all over their feeds. My heart started racing as I unlocked my phone. Messages stacked on top of each other. Links, screenshots, tags. I tapped one of the links and my stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. It was a video, edited, stitched together from short clips. Clips from the night before. My laugh slowed down and looped. The spill replayed from two angles. A clip of me leaning against the wall outside, eyes half closed, slurred smile frozen on my face. Text was layered over it, bold and serious, framing the whole thing like a public service message. A warning about watching out for people like me, about recognizing red flags, about behavior that made others uncomfortable. There was no context, no sound from her voice, no explanation of how the night actually went. Just carefully selected moments, cut and arranged to tell a story I didn't recognize. My name was in the video, but my face was clear. Clear enough that anyone who knew me would recognize me instantly. I watched it again, hoping I misunderstood, hoping there was something I missed, but every second was deliberate. Every clip chosen to make me look careless, unstable, unsafe. The caption talked about keeping people accountable, about protecting others. It ended by encouraging people to share. And they did. I scrolled through comments until my hands started shaking too much to hold the phone. People I didn't know calling me names, people speculating, people tagging friends. Some saying they always got a weird vibe from guys like me. Some saying this is why you can't trust anyone. I checked her profile. Still there. Public. The video pinned at the top. I messaged her immediately, asking what the hell this was. The message went through. Then the chat disappeared. Unmatched. I tried reporting the video. The platform response said it didn't violate guidelines. It was framed as awareness, not harassment. I reached out to friends, trying to explain. Some believed me. Some were unsure. Some didn't respond at all. By the afternoon, the video had spread beyond her page, reposted by accounts dedicated to calling people out. My face cropped into thumbnails. My laugh turned into a reaction gif. I stayed in my apartment all day, curtains closed, phone face down, feeling like my skin didn't fit right. Every sound outside made me flinch. Every notification felt like another hit. Someone sent me a message saying they saw the video and were disappointed. Someone else said I should be ashamed. Someone asked if it was true. I kept replaying the night in my head, trying to find the moment where everything turned, where I consented to becoming a warning instead of a person. That evening, another clip surfaced. Behind the scenes footage someone screen recorded from her page, her phone visible in a mirror, filming me while she smiled. That clip didn't last long before it was taken down, but I saw it, long enough to know it existed. I barely slept that night. When I did, I dreamed of bright lights and phones pointed at me from every angle. Over the next few days, the video slowed down. Newer posts pushed it lower, but it didn't disappear. It never really does. I deleted Tinder, then other apps. I locked down my accounts, changed settings, removed photos. None of it erased what was already out there. I'd never heard from her again. No explanation, no apology, just silence. Sometimes I catch myself monitoring how I move in public now, how I laugh, how much I drink, where phones are pointed, not because I think I did something wrong, but because I know how easy it is to cut a person into pieces and rearrange them. That night is still there, online, edited into something else. And every time I think about it, I wonder how many other people have become warnings without ever knowing they were being filmed for one. The night didn't start scary. That's what messes with my head the most. It started calm, almost boring, like 1,000 other dates I barely remember. If something feels off right away, your body tells you. This did. My body stayed relaxed until it was too late to pretend nothing was happening. We matched on Tinder after midnight, one of those accidental swipes where you aren't even sure why you did it. His profile was clean in a simple way. No try-hard energy. Just a couple photos in neutral lighting, a short bio about liking late food and quiet nights. Nothing that screamed control or intensity. We talked for a few days, slow messages, no pressure. He came across considerate, always asking if times worked for me, never pushing. I remember telling my roommate that he felt easy, like someone who would respect boundaries. We met in a small lounge near the edge of downtown, not crowded, not empty. Low lights, soft music, booths instead of stools. It felt like a place people went to talk, not to show off. I liked that. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth. He stood up when he saw me, smiled, pulled out the seat, polite in a way that didn't feel fake. I relaxed without noticing I was doing it. We ordered drinks and talked about normal stuff. Work stress, sleep schedules, how dating apps blur together after a while. He listened closely, remembered details. When I mentioned I didn't like walking home late, he nodded like he was filing that away as important. The night stayed smooth, not intense, not awkward, just steady. The kind of date where you think, okay, this is fine. Nothing amazing, nothing wrong. About an hour in, I started feeling tired. Not bored, just ready to go home. I told him I should probably head out soon because I had an early morning. He didn't push back. He said he wanted to make sure I got home safe. Before I could even open my ride app, he said he would order me a ride, said it casually like it was already decided. I hesitated for a second, then agreed because it felt easier than arguing and it sounded thoughtful. He asked me to confirm my address and I gave him the cross street, not the exact number. He nodded, tapped on his phone, and told me the ride was on the way. He turned the screen briefly so I could see it. Car icon moving, arrival time counting down. I thanked him. We stood up and walked outside together. The street was quiet, just a few cars passing, street lights buzzing overhead. The air felt cool and normal. Nothing tense. We stood on the sidewalk waiting. The car icon moved closer, then slowed, then stopped. My phone buzzed, ride canceled. I looked at him confused, assuming it was a glitch. He looked at his phone too, frowned slightly, and said it must have been a mistake. He said he would reorder it. He tapped again. Same thing. Ride ordered. Car assigned. Countdown started. I felt a little awkward standing there, keys in my hand, bag on my shoulder. I said I could just order it myself. He shook his head and said it was already handled. The car icon moved again, closer this time. Then my phone buzzed again. Ride canceled. My stomach tightened. Not panic yet, just confusion layered with a small pulse of unease. I asked why it kept canceling. He checked his phone longer this time, scrolling, tapping, then said something about the app being buggy tonight. He smiled like it was annoying but funny. I said it was fine. I would just take the bus or order my own. I stepped back slightly, creating space without fully realizing why. That's when his expression changed. Not angry, not aggressive, just flat, like a switch flipped to neutral. He tapped his phone again and said the ride was still active on his end. He turned the screen toward me. It showed a car assigned, arrival in 2 minutes, no cancellation. My phone buzzed again. Notification from the ride app saying the trip had been canceled by the requester. The requester was him. I realized then that he was fighting the app. He was controlling it. Ordering the ride, canceling it, reordering it, all while acting like it was out of his hands. I said I was going to leave, that I would walk to the bus stop. I turned my body toward the street. As soon as I did, my phone buzzed again. Ride ordered. Pickup location pinned exactly where I was standing. I froze. I hadn't shared my live location. I had only given him a cross street earlier, but the pin was exact. I said I didn't want the ride anymore, that I was done for the night. He canceled it immediately. The car icon disappeared from both our screens at the same time. We stood there in silence for a few seconds that felt way longer. The street felt emptier than before. The bar door closed behind us, muffling the music, making everything feel isolated. I took another step back. My heart was beating faster now, not racing, just heavy and loud. He said I was being dramatic, said he was just trying to help, said I should calm down and let him handle it so I did end up walking alone. The way he said handle it made my skin crawl. I pulled my phone out and opened the app myself, ordered a ride. My hands were shaking just enough to notice. Before the car even got a sign, my screen flashed. Ride canceled. I stared at it stunned. I hadn't touched anything. I checked the details. It said the ride was canceled by the requester. Me. I felt dizzy. I knew I didn't cancel it. My thumb hadn't even moved. He was still holding his phone at his side, screen dark now, watching me closely, like he was waiting to see what I would do next. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just turned and started walking toward the brighter intersection a block away, where traffic was heavier and people were around. As I walked, my phone buzzed again. Ride ordered. Pickup location updated to follow me. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I kept walking faster now toward the lights and noise. The ride disappeared again. Canceled. I reached the bus stop and sat down hard on the bench, breathing fast, phone clutched in my hand. I looked up and saw him standing where we had been, not following, just watching. My phone buzzed one last time. Ride ordered. This time, the pickup location was pinned directly on top of me. I canceled my card through the app entirely. Shut it down. Logged out. My hands were numb. The bus arrived minutes later, and I got on without checking the number. I didn't care where it went as long as it moved. I watched the street through the window as the bus pulled away. He didn't move. He just stood there under the streetlight, phone in his hand, face unreadable. When I got home, I locked the door and sat on the floor for a long time, back against it, listening to my own breathing. Later that night, I checked Tinder. He had unmatched me. The next morning, I got an email from the ride app saying there had been suspicious activity on my account, and they were investigating. I deleted the app. I still think about how polite he was, how calm, how helpful it all looked from the outside, like concern, like care. Nothing happened after that. No messages, no follow-ups, just silence. But sometimes when a ride takes too long to show up, or an app refreshes when I didn't touch it, my stomach tightens and I remember how easy it was for him to decide when I was allowed to leave. The thing that gets me isn't that I felt unsafe right away. It's that I didn't. I walked into that night feeling weirdly grounded, like nothing dramatic could possibly happen because everything looked so ordinary. That's what still messes with me. How calm I was before I realized I was being watched in a way that wasn't casual at all. I matched with her during one of those bored afternoons where you keep refreshing the app even though you already know nothing new is coming. Her profile felt soft. Warm lighting, a couple candid looking photos, nothing pose. Her bio talked about liking long talks and people who were curious. That word stuck with me. Curious sounded harmless, thoughtful even. We talked for almost 2 weeks before meeting. Long messages that felt more like journaling than flirting. She asked questions, but not invasive ones. Favorite places to walk. Things that calm me down. Random memories that pop up for no reason. It felt good to be listened to without being pushed. She suggested meeting at a quiet coffee shop near a college campus. Not a chain, not trendy. The kind of place with old tables and mismatched chairs and handwritten signs taped to the wall. It sounded comfortable, so I said yes. When I got there, she was already sitting near the window. She smiled and waved, stood up, hugged me briefly. She smelled like clean laundry and coffee. Nothing about her felt rehearsed. We ordered drinks and sat down. The shop was half full. Students on laptops. One older guy reading a newspaper. Soft music playing low enough that it felt like background noise instead of sound. The conversation flowed easily. It felt like continuing something instead of starting fresh. I remember thinking this might actually turn into something real, not just another one-time meet. About 20 minutes in, she glanced toward the door and smiled again, this time not at me. I turned to look and saw a guy walk in. Average looking, neutral clothes, backpack slung over one shoulder. He scanned the room, saw us, and walked over. She stood up and introduced him as a friend. Said he was just stopping by for a bit. I didn't love the surprise, but I didn't want to be rude. People bring friends sometimes. Safety thing. I got it. He sat down without ordering anything. Pulled a small notebook out of his bag and a pen. I remember noticing how clean the pages were. No doodles, no scribbles, just blank lines waiting. At first, it felt awkward but harmless. She kept the conversation going, looping him in casually, asking me the same kinds of questions she had asked over text. Nothing strange, just rehashing things. Then he started writing. Not casually, not quick notes, slow, deliberate writing. Every sentence I said got recorded. When I talked too fast, he paused, looked up, and gestured for me to repeat myself more clearly. No smile, no apology, just expectation. I laughed it off the first time, assumed he was joking or pretending to take notes for something. But he didn't stop. Every answer I gave, he wrote down. If I hesitated or rambled, he asked me to start over. She watched calmly, sipping her drink, nodding occasionally like this was normal. My stomach started to tighten. Not panic, just discomfort growing quietly. I asked what he was writing. She said he liked to document conversations. Said it helped him understand people better. She said it like it was a fun quirk. He flipped the notebook slightly toward me for a second. I saw my name written at the top of the page. Underneath it, bullet points, facts, phrases, things I had said. I felt exposed in a way I couldn't fully explain, like my words were being taken out of the air and pinned down. The questions shifted after that. They became more specific. What times I usually left for work, whether I lived alone, how often I had people over. Things that felt less like curiosity and more like inventory. When I gave vague answers, he asked me to be more precise. When I joked to dodge something, he waited until I answered properly. I looked at her, expecting her to notice how uncomfortable I was. She didn't interrupt. She just watched, eyes moving between us, calm and focused. I told myself to relax, told myself I could leave at any time. But my body stayed seated like I didn't want to make a scene. At some point, I noticed he wasn't writing everything anymore. Just certain things. Addresses mentioned. Schedules. Routines. When I talked about my lid situation, he leaned forward slightly and wrote longer. A barista called out an order and it startled me more than it should have. I felt jumpy, like my nerves were finally catching up. I said I needed to use the bathroom just to get away. When I stood up, he stopped writing. Both of them watched me walk toward the back of the shop. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror, trying to calm my breathing. My face looked flushed. My eyes looked too alert. I told myself I was overreacting, that I just wasn't used to being observed so closely. When I came back, nothing had changed. He was still writing. She was still relaxed. The notebook was fuller now. I sat down again and tried to steer the conversation to lighter stuff. Movies, food, dumb opinions. He wrote less during those parts, like they didn't matter. Then he asked me to repeat something I said earlier about how I usually got home. Asked me to say it slower. That was the moment something clicked. This wasn't about getting to know me. This was about recording me, accurately, cleanly. I stopped answering. I said I felt weird about being written down like that. I said I was comfortable. She tilted her head and said it was just how he processed things, said I was safe, said I could trust them. The word trust landed wrong. I stood up and said I was going to head out. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. He closed the notebook immediately. Not hurried. Just finished the line he was on and closed it. He looked up at me like I had passed some invisible checkpoint. She stood too, looking disappointed but not surprised, like she expected this to end here. As I grabbed my jacket, he'd opened the notebook one last time and added something at the bottom of the page. I couldn't see what it was, but I knew it was about me leaving. I walked out of the shop without looking back. The cool air hit my face, and I didn't stop walking until I reached the corner. My phone buzzed while I was crossing the street. A message from her. She said she hoped I got home safe and thanked me for being open. I didn't respond. Later that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had left something behind. Not an object, just information. Details that now existed somewhere else, written down neatly. Out of curiosity, I checked Tinder. Her profile was still there. Active. Same photos. Same bio. Curious. I unmatched her. 2 days later, I got a follow request on a social platform I barely used. No profile picture. Just a name that looked familiar. The same name she used when she introduced him. I blocked it. Then another request came from a different account. Same name with a number added. I blocked that too. A week later, I noticed something else. Ads on my phone shifted. Recommendations got specific, eerily specific. Places I mentioned once. Products tied to routines I talked about. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe I was paranoid. But the timing felt wrong. Nothing else happened after that. No messages. No confrontation. Just quiet reminders that my words had been taken seriously by someone who didn't need my consent to keep them. Sometimes I think about that notebook, about how full it was by the time I left, about how easily it talked before I knew I was being documented. I still go to that coffee shop sometimes, but I never sit near the window anymore. I didn't realize how much space matters until someone controls it without touching you. That's the part that stuck with me. Not yelling, not grabbing, not anything obvious. Just a quiet way a body can become a wall while pretending it isn't doing anything at all. We matched on Tinder during a stretch where my days felt the same. Wake up, scroll, work, scroll again. His profile didn't stand out in a good or bad way. Just normal. Neutral. A few photos at different angles, nothing flashy. His bio mentioned liking long talks and quiet places, which sounded calming at the time. We talked for a bit before meeting. Nothing intense. Just casual check-ins and jokes that didn't go anywhere but didn't crash either. He seemed patient, not rushing. That made me feel comfortable enough to meet without overthinking it. He suggested a small indie theater downtown that showed older movies. Not the kind with assigned seats, just narrow aisles and rows packed close together. I liked the idea because it felt low pressure. Sit, watch, leave. Simple. The lobby was dim when I arrived. Posters on the walls, sticky floor, the smell of popcorn soaked into everything. He waved when he saw me and bought tickets without asking which movie I wanted. I didn't mind. I was there for the film. We went inside and found seats near the middle. The aisle was tight, barely wide enough for one person to pass without turning sideways. I slid into the row first and he followed, settling in beside me. His leg took up more space than I expected, but I shifted and didn't think much of it. The movie started and we watched quietly for a while. I focused on the screen, letting the darkness do its thing. About 20 minutes in, I felt the need to stretch. I stood up slowly, whispering an apology to the people behind us. He didn't move. He leaned forward slightly, still facing the screen, knees angled just enough to block the aisle. I waited a second, assuming he would notice and shift. He didn't. He kept talking softly about the movie, pointing out something on the screen like nothing was happening. I cleared my throat and waited, still nothing. Finally, he shifted just enough for me to squeeze past sideways. His knee brushed my leg as I moved by. Not accidental enough to feel normal. Not aggressive enough to call out. I went to the bathroom and splashed water on my face, telling myself it was nothing. Tight aisles, cramped seats, coincidence. When I came back, he stood up to let me pass. I relaxed a little, sat back down. The movie kept going. About 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Low battery warning. I stood up again, planning to step out and plug it in near the lobby. This time, he didn't even lean forward. He stayed seated, legs wide, one foot stretched slightly into the aisle. He kept talking about the film, voice steady, eyes on the screen. I waited. My heart started to beat faster, not panic, just confusion mixed with irritation. I didn't want to climb over him. I didn't want to make a scene. After a few seconds that felt way too long, he glanced at me briefly like he had just noticed I was standing there. He smiled and shifted just enough to let me pass, then immediately went back to his position. I walked out feeling annoyed at myself for letting it bother me. When I came back, he asked if I was okay, still casual, still calm. I nodded and sat down again. I tried to focus on the movie, but my body felt alert now, like I was waiting for something. The third time it happened was when I knew it was accidental. The movie was almost over and I stood up to stretch my legs. He blocked the aisle again, this time completely. Knees forward, shoulders relaxed, body turned slightly toward me while his head stayed facing the screen. He kept talking, same tone, same rhythm, like he didn't notice my legs inches from his knees. I said his name quietly. No response, not even a glance. People behind us shifted in their seats, clearly aware that something was off. I felt heat crawl up my neck, embarrassment layered over discomfort. I stepped back and sat down again because I didn't know what else to do. My hands were shaking now, not visibly, but enough that I could feel it. When the credits started rolling, I stood up immediately. He did too. For a second, I felt relief. Then he stepped into the aisle ahead of me instead of moving out, standing close enough that I couldn't pass without brushing against him. He kept talking about the ending, about how people misread scenes like that. I waited, heart pounding. People behind us were getting impatient. Someone cleared their throat loudly. He didn't move. I said I needed to get out. My voice sounded thin to my own ears. He laughed softly and stepped aside like it was all a misunderstanding, like I was imagining things. I walked fast down the aisle and out into the lobby. The bright lights hit my eyes hard. I didn't stop until I reached the bathroom again. I locked myself in a stall and sat there, breathing slowly, trying to calm down. My phone buzzed with a message from him asking if everything was okay. I didn't answer. When I came back out, he was waiting near the exit doors. Not blocking this time. Just standing there like nothing had happened. I said I was heading out. He nodded and said he had fun, said we should do it again sometime. I didn't respond. I just walked past him and pushed through the doors into the night air. The street felt wide and open in a way that made me want to cry. I walked fast, not looking back, my shoulders tight until I turned the corner. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Then another. All casual. All pretending the night had gone exactly as planned. I unmatched him while standing at a crosswalk, my thumbs shaking as the screen refreshed. Later that night, I replayed it over and over in my head. The way he never acknowledged my standing. The way he kept talking through it. The way he made it seem like the space belonged to him and I was interrupting it by trying to move. Nothing extreme happened. Nothing anyone else would probably call dangerous, but my body remembered it differently. For weeks after, I noticed aisles everywhere. Grocery stores, buses, theaters. I noticed who moved and who didn't, who pretended not to see. Sometimes I wonder if he even thought he was doing anything wrong, or if the point was never about trapping me, just about seeing how easily he could slow me down without anyone noticing. I never saw him again. His profile disappeared like the rest of them do. But every time I stand up in a tight space now, I watch the person beside me carefully. Not because I'd expect something to happen, but because I learned how quiet control can be. The worst part wasn't the reveal. It was realizing how long I had been cooperating before I even knew there was something to reveal. The moment only felt sharp because everything before it had been smooth, familiar, easy. I didn't walk into danger. I walked into something that felt like practice. I matched with her on a Tuesday night while sitting on my bed with my laptop open and nothing actually happening on the screen. Her profile looked unfinished, like she didn't care if it worked or not. Blurry selfies, one picture of a desk with a notebook half in frame, no clear face shot. Her bio said she liked observing people. I thought it was just another vague line people use when they don't know what to say. We started talking, and it didn't feel like flirting. It felt like answering prompts. She asked thoughtful questions, but spaced them out, like she didn't want to overwhelm me. What I did for work, how long I had been there, what time my day usually started, what apps I checked first in the morning. I answered without thinking because none of it felt private. It felt like small talk with better structure. She shared things too, or at least it seemed like she did. Comments about her routine, her habits, things she liked to notice about people. It made me feel like the balance was even, like we were both participating. After about a week, she suggested meeting somewhere quiet. Not a bar, not food, just a public space where we could talk without pressure. She picked a small park near a row of office buildings. Benches, trees, people passing through but not staying long. It sounded neutral. When I got there, she was already sitting on a bench with a tote bag at her feet. She smiled when she saw me and stood up. She looked different than her photos, but not in a bad way. More present, sharper. We sat down and talked like we already knew each other. No awkward warm-up. She remembered details from our chat that I had forgotten I mentioned. I remember thinking it was impressive. Flattering even. About 20 minutes in, she reached into her tote bag and pulled out a notebook. Plain cover. No labels. She set it on her lap, but didn't open it right away. I didn't think much of it. People bring notebooks. Maybe she liked writing outside. The conversation kept going. She asked about my schedule again. A little more specific this time. When I usually got home, what days I worked late, whether I used the same route every day. I answered casually, not realizing how easily the answers lined up into something bigger. Then she opened the notebook. She didn't hide it or angle it away. She turned it toward me, like she wanted me to see. Pages filled with handwriting. Neat. Organized. Bullet points and short lines. Dates. Times. Names. My name was written at the top of the page. Under it were details. My job title. The general area where I live. My usual wake-up time. The apps I said I checked most. A note about how quickly I replied to messages at night versus during the day. I laughed because my brain didn't know what else to do. It felt like a joke that went too far. She waited for me to finish laughing, then calmly explained why she matched with me. She said she wasn't looking for anything. She said she was testing how much information people gave away without being asked directly. She said she liked to see patterns. She told me she chose me because I seemed normal, not guarded, not suspicious, easy to talk to. She flipped through a few pages. There were other names, not just mine. Each one had its own section, some more filled than others. Mine had a lot. My chest felt tight, like the air got heavier around the bench. She pointed out specific things, how I volunteered my work hours without being asked, how I mentioned my commute twice in different ways that lined up, how I told her which nights I stayed up later without realizing it mattered. She said she never lied to me, she just let me talk. I asked what she planned to do with it. She said nothing, that this was the point, to see how far it went before someone noticed. I didn't know what to say. I stared at the notebook like it might move on its own. It felt wrong seeing my life reduced to clean lines on paper. She closed the notebook and put it back in her bag like the moment was over, like we could just keep talking. I stood up instead. My legs felt shaky, not weak, just unsettled. I said I was leaving. She nodded like she expected that. She said most people left around that point. As I walked away, my phone buzzed. A message from her. She thanked me for participating. I didn't answer. When I got home, I locked my door and sat on my bed staring at my phone. I scrolled back through our chat history, reading it differently now. Every question, every pause, every time she didn't react to something emotional but leaned into details. It all felt obvious in hindsight. I unmatched her. The chat disappeared, but that didn't help. The information was already collected. Over the next few days, I felt exposed in a way I couldn't explain to anyone. Nothing had happened, but something had been taken, not physically, not digitally, just quietly recorded. I started noticing how often people ask questions that seem harmless, how easy it is to answer when you assume good intent, how much of yourself you hand over without ever calling it data. A week later, I got an email from a service I didn't remember signing up for. Location-based recommendations. Nothing dangerous. Just specific, too specific. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. My brain kept flipping between the two. I checked Tinder again out of morbid curiosity. Her profile was gone. No trace, like she had finished whatever she needed. Sometimes I imagine that notebook sitting on a shelf somewhere. My name still at the top of the page. Details that haven't changed. Routines that probably still match. Nothing else ever came of it. No threats, no messages, no follow-ups. But now when someone asks a question that feels a little too smooth, I feel my mouth hesitate before answering. Not because I'm scared, just because I finally understand how easy it is to be studied without realizing you're part of the test. I knew something was wrong the second he started acting like the date had rules I'd never agreed to. Not like normal first date rules, like don't be rude and don't show up late. I mean rules like there was a score, and he was the only one holding it. I didn't see it at first because he wrapped it in this calm, polite vibe that made everything sound reasonable if you didn't look too hard. We matched on Tinder on a random weekday when I was bored and half watching videos on my phone. His profile looked clean and normal. No weird edgy bio, no fake motivational stuff. Just a few pics that felt like someone who actually goes outside. He had this calm face that made him look responsible, like the kind of guy who would hold the door open and say thank you to the cashier. His bio said he liked routines and did like drama. Which, honestly, same. Our chat was steady. He didn't love jokes, but he wasn't dry either. He asked questions that felt normal at first, like what I do, what I like doing on weekends, what kind of places I hang out. He always answered back with something that sounded like he had his life together. I remember telling my friend he seemed structured, maybe a little intense, but not scary, just kind of serious. He suggested meeting at a quiet spot that wasn't a bar. He picked this little place that was part coffee shop, part co-working space. Lots of tables, glass walls, plants everywhere, people typing on laptops like it was a library. It sounded safe because it was public and calm, and I liked the idea of not shouting over music. I got there first and picked a small table near the window. I could see the street, the door, everything. The lighting was bright, the vibe was clean. I felt comfortable. He showed up exactly on time. Not early, not late. He walked in like he already knew where he was going. He smiled, shook my hand instead of hugging me, and sat down. He didn't ask if the seat was okay. He just chose the chair facing the room while I was facing the window. It felt like nothing at the time. Later, it felt like a tiny decision that mattered a lot. We ordered drinks. I got something simple. He'd have black coffee, no sugar, and made a comment about liking things straightforward. He was polite to the staff, which usually makes me relax. And he did make me relax for like 10 minutes. Then he started doing this thing where he would pause after I answered, like he was waiting for more. Not awkward silence, more like he wanted me to fill in gaps. It made me talk more than I planned to. I found myself explaining small details that didn't matter, like why I picked my major, what my commute is like, how my schedule changes depending on the week. He nodded, eyes focused, like he was taking mental notes. I tried to switch it up and ask him stuff. When I asked about his last relationship, he answered like he was reporting something. Short, clean, no emotion. Then he brought it back to me again, asking how I handle conflict, how I react when people disappoint me, whether I consider myself reliable. It felt weird, but I told myself maybe he just cares about compatibility. Like maybe he got burned before and now he asks serious questions. I didn't want to judge. About 30 minutes in, he looked at his phone, tapped something, then set it face down again. He took a sip of coffee and said calmly that I had already failed the date. Not in a joking way, not smiling. Just stating it like a fact, like my order was wrong or I missed a turn while driving. My face got hot instantly. I felt embarrassed and confused at the same time. I asked what he meant, and he said it was about how I answered something earlier. I couldn't even remember what answer he was talking about because my brain was stuck on the word failed. Like the date was a test and I didn't even know I was taking it. I said I didn't think dates worked like that. He nodded slowly like I was cute for thinking that. Then he said he still wanted me to stay. He said he needed to finish the process. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a normal request, like finishing a meal you already started. That was what made it so unsettling. He looked totally calm, like I was the one making it weird by reacting. I told him I was going to head out. I reached for my bag under the table. That's when he leaned forward just slightly and placed his hand on the edge of the table, not touching me, just close enough that it made my movement feel noticed. He said I could leave after he finished. I sat back without meaning to, but I hate that I did that. I hate that my body chose the easiest path in that moment, which was to not escalate anything. I looked around the room. People were working, typing, laughing quietly at other tables. No one was paying attention to us. He started asking questions again, but now it felt different. Now it felt like he was collecting something. He asked me to repeat my answer about my work schedule because I had said it too vaguely. He asked me what time I usually got home, like he needed the exact hour. He asked where I usually park. He asked whether my friends check in on me when I go out. I tried to answer in a way that didn't give him anything useful. I kept it general. I kept it vague. He didn't like that. I could tell by how he nodded slower, like he was marking something down in his head. Then he pulled out a small notebook. Not big, just pocket size. He opened it to a page that already had writing on it. I saw my name at the top. Not my full name, but enough. Underneath were short lines. Little facts. Stuff I had told him in chat. My neighborhood, my job type. A note about what days I was usually free. It looked like a list. My stomach dropped. I felt cold in my arms and legs like my body was trying to pull all the blood inward. He didn't hide it. He showed it to me like it was normal. Like he was proud of being organized. He said he liked to track patterns. He said most people say they want honesty, but they don't notice what they leak. I asked why he had that. He said it helped him decide quickly. He said he hated wasting time. He said he needed clean data. The word data made my throat tighten. It made the whole thing feel less like a date and more like I was being sorted. I tried standing up again, slower this time, careful. He didn't grab me. He didn't block me. He just kept talking like I was still sitting there, like he could hold me in place with attention alone. He said if I walked out now, it would confirm something about me. He said he needed to see how I handled discomfort. I sat back down again. I know how that sounds, but it felt like if I stood up too fast, it would turn into a scene, and I didn't know what he would do with that. My brain was trying to choose the safest option in a room full of strangers who were looking. He asked me to do a small thing to prove I could follow directions. He said to move my chair a little closer to the table to show I could be present. I didn't do it. I just stared at him. He smiled like he expected that and wrote something in the notebook. I asked him what exactly the process was. He said it was just a way to filter people. He said it protects him from liars and time wasters. He said he was building a system. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. He said I was the first person at this table. He said he used this place because it was quiet and predictable and nobody interrupts. He said staff don't notice because it just looks like two people talking. He said he likes that. I looked toward the counter and felt this rush of anger and fear mixed together. I wanted to walk up and say something, but I didn't want to make it worse. I didn't want him to flip it into me being dramatic. I didn't want my face remembered by strangers as the girl causing a scene. So I did the thing I hate admitting. I played nice. I smiled slightly. I told him I understood, that I was just tired, that I wanted to go home. I asked if we could wrap it up. He looked at his notebook again, like he was checking if he had enough. Then he said we were almost done. Almost done felt like a trap word, like it could stretch forever. I noticed his phone sitting face down near his hand. He tapped it once, like he was starting a timer. I didn't see the screen, but I saw the motion. I made myself stay calm. I asked him one normal question about his job, something neutral. While he answered, I slid my bag strap onto my shoulder slowly. I stood up while he was mid-sentence. Not sudden, not loud, just up. He paused. His eyes flicked to my bag. Then he smiled again, like he already predicted this too. He said something about me choosing avoidance. I didn't respond. I turned and walked toward the door. My heart was pounding, but my steps stayed steady. I didn't look back until I was outside. The air felt colder and louder, like the street had more sound than before. Cars passing, people talking, the city doing normal city stuff like nothing had happened. My phone buzzed. A Tinder message from him. It said he had finished the process and I had failed for real this time. I unmatched him while walking. Then I blocked him. I didn't stop moving until I reached a busier street with more people. Later that night, I checked Tinder again, not because I wanted to, but because my brain needed confirmation. His profile was gone, not unmatched, gone like it never existed, but he had already moved on to the next person, the next table, the next quiet spot where nobody interrupts. I didn't get a lesson out of it. I didn't become fearless. I just felt gross and angry and tired. And I never went back to that coffee place again, even though it used to feel safe. The moment still replays in my head like a clip that never buffers all the way. Not because it was dramatic at first, but because it turned fast without warning, like someone flipping a light switch in a crowded room. One second I was just another guy on a date, the next I was something people were stepping back from. We matched on Tinder on a slow Thursday night. I remember because I was half lying on my couch, phone slipping out of my hand every few minutes, not really invested in anything. Her profile looked normal in a boring way. Clean selfies, neutral background, nothing attention grabbing. Her bio said she liked quiet places and honest people, which didn't feel like a trap at the time. We talked for a week. Nothing intense. No flirting that crossed lines. Mostly talking about work stress, music we listened to while cleaning, random thoughts that didn't mean much. She wasn't overly curious, and she didn't overshare. It felt balanced. That made me relax. We agreed to meet at a food hall near a busy intersection. Lots of people, lots of noise, open seating. It felt like the safest option. Public, casual, easy to leave. I got there early and grabbed a table near the middle where everything was visible. I didn't want corners or shadows. She arrived a few minutes later, smiling, waving. She looked like her photos, maybe a little more serious. We ordered food from different stalls and sat down with trays in front of us like it was any other normal meet. The conversation was fine. Not amazing. Not bad. Just two people filling time. She asked about my job and my schedule, where I usually hung out. I answered without thinking too much about it because none of it felt sensitive. I asked about hers. She gave short answers, but enough to seem engaged. Halfway through eating, she started checking her phone more often. Not texting. Just unlocking it, locking it again, like she was waiting for something. I noticed but didn't say anything. Then she asked a question that felt a little off. Not wrong, just heavier than the rest. Something about my past and whether I had ever made someone uncomfortable without realizing it. I answered honestly, said I tried to be aware, said misunderstandings happen, but I never wanted to cross lines. She nodded slowly and didn't respond right away, just stared at me for a second longer than normal. Then everything shifted. Her voice got louder. Not yelling, but raised enough to cut through the noise around us. She said something vague but serious, something that didn't include details but didn't need them. The kind of statement that hangs in the air and lets everyone fill in the worst version themselves. I froze. My brain stalled out trying to understand what she was doing. I looked around and saw heads turning. conversations nearby quieting, chairs scraping slightly as people adjusted to see better. I tried to respond calmly, tried to say there had to be some mistake, that I didn't know what she was talking about. But she kept going, repeating the same idea with different words, louder each time. Still vague, still serious. That's when I noticed the phones. One person at the next table lifted theirs casually, pretending to check messages while angling the camera. Another across the aisle held theirs chest high, screen facing us. Someone behind her stood up and started recording openly. My mouth went dry. I felt heat rush to my face and neck. Not guilt. Panic. The kind that hits when you realize the story is already being told without you. I looked at her, searching for some sign this was a joke or a misunderstanding. She wasn't angry. She wasn't crying. She looked focused, almost calm, like she was watching something unfold exactly how she expected. She took a step back from the table, creating distance between us. That move alone made it look like she was protecting herself. People murmured. I caught fragments of words. Uncomfortable, unsafe, warning. I tried to stand up and she raised her voice again, saying I should stay where I was. That didn't help. It made it look worse, like I was trying to flee. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands were shaking. I didn't know where to put them. Every movement felt like it could be twisted into something else. Security from the food hall started moving closer, slow but alert. One of them asked what was going on. She spoke before I could. Still vague, still serious. Still no details. I realized then how powerful vagueness is. How it lets people imagine whatever scares them most. The phones kept recording. I said I wanted to leave. Security told me to wait, to calm down, like it was the problem that needed managing. She stepped further away and said she didn't feel safe being near me. That sentence alone felt like a weight dropped on my chest. People around us shifted again, creating space around me instead of her. Security asked if I knew her. I said we had just met. That didn't help. That made it sound worse. Someone shouted something I couldn't make out. Someone else laughed nervously. The noise blended together until it felt unreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. After a few minutes that felt way longer, security asked me to leave the area. Not her. Me. They said it was to de-escalate things. As I gathered my stuff, my hands felt numb. I could barely grip my tray. I could feel eyes on me from every direction. Phones tracking my movement as I stood up. She didn't look at me anymore. She looked at the crowd, at the cameras, like she was aware of exactly how it looked. I walked out with security escorting me, my ears ringing, my thoughts racing. Outside, the noise dropped suddenly and the cold air hit my face. It felt like coming up from underwater. Security told me to go home, said if there was nothing to it, nothing would come of it. That sentence felt meaningless. On the walk home, my phone started buzzing. Notifications, messages, tags. Someone had already posted a clip. My face frozen mid-sentence. Her voice raised. No context. Just the accusation and my reaction. The caption didn't say what I did. It didn't have to. It just said people should be careful. By the time I got home, there were multiple clips from different angles. Comments piling up. People guessing. People assuming. People deciding who I was based on 30 seconds of footage. I messaged her, asking why she did this, what was going on. The message never delivered. Unmatched. I tried reporting the posts. Some stayed up. Some got taken down and reposted elsewhere. Screenshots travel faster than truth. Friends started texting, asking what happened. Some believed me. Some said they didn't know what to think. Some didn't respond at all. I didn't sleep that night. I just refreshed and watched as strangers discussed me like I wasn't real. Like I was a headline without details. Days passed. Nothing official ever came of it. No police. No charges. No follow-up. Just a video floating around, detached from reality. Her Tinder profile disappeared. Gone like she finished what she needed to do. Sometimes I think about how controlled she was. How she waited until phones were out before stepping back. How she never said anything specific enough to challenge, but serious enough to stain. I still go to that food hall sometimes. Not because I want to, but because it's near my work. I sit at different tables now. I keep my head down. I watch how quickly people lift their phones when something feels off. Nothing else happened after that, but my name feels lighter now, like it could be picked up and reshaped by anyone loud enough. The moment my phone buzzed on the table, I already knew something was wrong. Not because of what I saw yet, but because of how my body reacted before my brain caught up. That tight drop in the stomach, like when you missed a step on stairs that aren't there. Everything had been normal right up until that vibration. Boring even. And I had learned by then that boring is usually when things slip past your guard. We matched on Tinder on a slow night when I was half watching videos and half answering emails. His profile didn't stand out. That's probably why I swiped. Just a guy with average photos, nothing flashy, no weird quotes, no red flags. His bio mentioned liking casual dates and not taking things too seriously. I liked that because I wasn't looking for intensity. I just wanted something easy. We chatted for a few days. Nothing heavy. Jokes, comments about work, complaining about the app itself. I mentioned my job once in passing, not the name of the place, just the field. He didn't push. Didn't ask follow-ups. That made me trust him more than I should have. He suggested meeting at a food truck park near the river. Lots of open space, picnic tables, lights strung up between poles. It felt safe and public. I told a friend where I was going and went anyway, not worried. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at one of the long wooden tables, scrolling on his phone. He stood up when he saw me smile, gave a quick awkward wave. Normal. Relief washed over me because I didn't want another weird one. We ordered food from different trucks and sat down. The air smelled like fried food and smoke. People were laughing nearby, kids running around, music playing softly from somewhere. Everything felt open and visible. The conversation flowed fine. Not amazing, not awkward. Just two people killing time. He asked about my day, my commute, how I liked the area. I answered without thinking much about it because nothing felt invasive. At one point, he suggested taking a picture together because the lights looked good. I hesitated for half a second but agreed. It felt harmless. People take photos on dates all the time. He held his phone up, angled it slightly, snapped one quick shot. No posing. No redo. He didn't show me the photo. I didn't ask. We went back to eating and talking. I relaxed again. I remember thinking this would probably just end as a polite one-time meet, and that was fine. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced down expecting a text from my friend checking in. Instead, I saw a notification from a social app I barely use anymore. Someone tagged you in a post. My heart started beating faster. I opened it. It was a selfie, the one he had just taken. My face caught mid-smile, unaware. His arm around the edge of the frame, the background clearly visible. Under the photo was a location tag. Not the food truck park. My workplace. The exact name, tagged. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I stared at the screen, reread it, scrolled up and down like it might change. It didn't. I looked up at him slowly. He was still talking, still smiling, like nothing had happened. His phone was in his hand again, screen dark now. I asked how he knew where I worked. My voice sounded too calm to match how loud my thoughts were. He laughed and said he just put two and two together. Said it was public info, said it wasn't a big deal. My chest felt tight. I told him I didn't want that up. That I never agreed to be posted. That tagging my workplace was okay. He shrugged and said it was already live. Said he could take it down later if I really wanted. Later. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. Someone from my work liked the post. I felt dizzy. My fingers went numb around my phone. I could already imagine it spreading. Coworkers seeing it. Supervisors seeing it. Questions I didn't want to answer. I asked him to take it down now, not later. Now. He smiled like I was overreacting, said it was just a picture, said I should relax. I stood up. The bench scraped loudly against the ground and a couple people nearby glanced over. I didn't care. I told him I was leaving. As soon as I said that, my phone buzzed again. New comment. Someone I recognized from work asked if this was a new thing. My throat closed up. I felt exposed in a way I couldn't explain. Like a private part of my life had been dragged into a public space without permission. I reported the post immediately, hit every option. Harassment, unwanted content, privacy. It didn't disappear right away. He stood up too, suddenly more serious. Said I was making a scene, said I was going to regret being dramatic. That sentence stuck with me. Not yelled, not threatening, just stated. I grabbed my bag and walked away from the table, heart pounding, phone clutched tight. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see his face. I sat in my car for a few minutes just breathing, refreshing the app over and over. The post was still there, likes climbing, comments coming in. I messaged him one last time telling him to remove it. The message sent. Then the chat disappeared. Unmatched. The post stayed up for another 20 minutes before it finally vanished. No explanation. No apology. By then, it didn't matter. Screenshots existed. I knew they did. They always do. The next morning at work felt unreal. I walked in expecting whispers, stares, something. Maybe I imagined some of it. Maybe not. A coworker asked casually if I had a fun night. I nodded and changed the subject. Later that day, my manager asked if everything was okay because something had come up online. Not accusatory, just cautious. I told a partial truth. Said someone posted without my consent. Said it was handled. She nodded, but I could tell it left a mark. I went home exhausted, sat on my bed, and stared at the wall for a long time. My phone felt heavier than usual, like it carried more than just messages now. Out of curiosity, I checked Tinder. His profile was gone. Not unmatched, gone. I searched his username on the social app. Nothing, like he erased himself after he was done. I kept thinking about how fast it happened. How easy it was for him to connect me to a place I tried to keep separate from dating. How one tap could collapse those walls completely. Nothing else came of it. No follow-up post. No message. No confrontation. Just that one moment that changed how safe things felt. I still work at the same place. Most people probably forgot. The internet moves fast. But I didn't forget. Now when someone pulls out their phone on a date, even casually, my body reacts before my brain does. Not fear exactly. Just awareness. Like I know how fast a private moment can be turned into proof of something I never agreed to show. I knew the night had turned wrong before anything actually happened. It was the moment you could point to. It was more like the air shifted and my body noticed before my brain did. My shoulders tightened. My jaw locked. Everything inside me went quiet in that way that means pay attention now. We matched on Tinder earlier that week when I was killing time between classes, scrolling without really caring who came up. Her profile looked calm. Soft lighting, neutral clothes, nothing loud. Her bio mentioned liking clear communication and not wasting time. That felt refreshing at first. I was tired of vague people. Our messages felt structured, not flirty, not cold, just direct. She asked what I was looking for and didn't react much to my answer, just acknowledged it and moved on. I liked that. It felt adult. We agreed to meet at a quiet tea shop near the edge of downtown. Not popular, not trendy. The kind of place people go to work or sit alone with headphones on. It felt safe because it was boring. I got there first and picked a table near the wall, close enough to the exit that I could see the door. I always do that without thinking. When she arrived, she scanned the room quickly before sitting down across from me. She didn't smile right away, but she wasn't unfriendly either, just focused. The conversation stayed calm, not awkward, just steady. She asked questions and listened closely, sometimes nodding, sometimes writing something on her phone and then locking it again. I assumed she was texting someone. I didn't ask. About 20 minutes in, I started feeling like the energy wasn't matching. Not bad, just flat. I could already tell this wasn't going anywhere, and that's fine. Not every date needs a reason to end beyond that. I told her I was probably going to head out soon. I said it casually like a normal wrap-up. I expected a polite okay and maybe a quick goodbye. Instead, she tilted her head slightly and said something that made my stomach drop. She said leaving now might look bad. I laughed awkwardly because I didn't understand what she meant. She didn't laugh back. She stayed calm and said people notice patterns. She said timing matters. I felt heat creep up my neck. I asked what she was talking about. She didn't answer directly. She unlocked her phone and turned it slightly so I could see the screen without fully handing it to me. It was a notes app, a draft. The top line had my first name. Under it were bullet points, not insults, not accusations exactly, just observations, times, behaviors, phrases, things I had said during the date, things from our chat before, written in a way that felt neutral but heavy, like it was being framed for someone else to interpret. I felt sick. My chest tightened like it was hard to get a full breath. She said she had been keeping notes to help her process interactions. She said it helped her feel safe. She said she wasn't accusing me of anything, just documenting. Then she said if I left now, it might look like I was avoiding accountability. That sentence stuck in my head like a hook. I looked around the shop, people typing, sipping tea, nobody paying attention to us. It felt unreal that something so serious could exist in such a quiet space. I said I didn't feel comfortable with her writing about me like that. She nodded like she expected that reaction. She said discomfort is part of growth. She scrolled the draft slightly. I saw more. Not just about tonight. Assumptions, interpretations, words like pressure and boundary adjacent behavior. Nothing concrete. Nothing I could argue against cleanly. I realized then how dangerous vague language can be when it's written down. I stood up slowly, careful not to knock anything over. My legs felt weak, but I forced them steady. I said I was leaving. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't block me. She just said she would have to finish the draft if I walked out. She said she preferred resolution but would document whatever happened next. My hands started shaking, not visible, but enough that I felt it in my fingers. I asked who the draft was for. She said maybe just her, maybe others if she needed advice. She said sometimes sharing helps clarify things. I sat back down without meaning to. I hate admitting that, but my body chose the option that felt less risky in the moment. I didn't want to give her something else to write about. She watched me closely, like she was observing the choice itself. She asked me to explain why I wanted to leave so early. I tried to keep it simple. Said I wasn't feeling a connection. Said I didn't think anyone did anything wrong. She typed while I talked, not fast, deliberate. Then she asked me to repeat part of it because I spoke too quickly. My throat felt tight. I repeated myself slower. She added another bullet point. I asked if she was doing this with everyone she met. She said not everyone reacted the same way. She said some people stayed longer. That did make me feel better. I glanced at the door again. The exit sign felt farther away than before. I kept thinking about the word look. How she said leaving would look bad. Not be bad, look bad. I asked her to delete the draft. She said she couldn't do that mid-process. She said it would compromise the integrity of her notes. Integrity. Another word that felt weaponized. I pulled my phone out and pretended to check a message, mostly to ground myself. My heart was beating so loud I was worried she'd hear it. She said quietly that pulling out my phone could also be interpreted a certain way. She said she would note it as disengagement. I snapped then, not yelling, just firm. I told her she couldn't control how I left or what it meant. I told her I was done. She looked at me for a long second, then said she would add that I became defensive when confronted. I stood up again. This time I didn't sit back down. I told her she could write whatever she wanted, but I was staying. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. As I turned to walk away, she said my name again, calm, reminding me that people tend to trust written accounts more than memories. I didn't respond. I walked to the door, pushed it open, and stepped outside into the street. The night air hit me hard, like my lungs finally remembered how to work. I walked fast, not running, but not slowing either. I didn't look back. Half a block away, my phone buzzed. Tinder notification. Message from her. She said she hoped I got home safe and that she would be fair in her wording. That line made my stomach drop all over again. I unmatched her immediately, then blocked her, then deleted the app entirely. When I got home, I locked the door and sat on my bed, staring at my hands until they stopped shaking. For days after, I kept thinking about that draft. about how my name sat at the top of a page I would never see again, about how easily something neutral could be framed into something serious without ever being false. Nothing ever happened. No post, no message, no accusation sent to anyone I knew. Maybe she really did keep it to herself. Or maybe she didn't need to send it. Maybe the point was just knowing she could. I still replay that moment sometimes, the way she said leaving might look bad, the way she didn't need to stop me physically, the way the threat wasn't loud, just implied. Now when I end dates, I do it earlier. I do it cleaner, and I trust the feeling when the air shifts, even if nothing obvious has happened yet. The first time my stomach flipped, nothing actually happened. That's what makes it so hard to explain. It wasn't a touch or a threat or even a weird look. It was just a sentence that didn't belong to the moment it was spoken, like someone reading a line from the wrong script and expecting you not to notice. I matched with him on Tinder on a night where I was mostly just bored and scrolling between shows. His profile didn't stand out, which felt like a good thing at the time. No intense bio, no edgy jokes. Just normal pictures, clean smile, one photo outside what looked like a cafe. His bio said he liked late dinners and quiet conversations. It felt safe enough. We talked for a few days. Nothing deep, nothing personal. Just surface level stuff about work schedules, favorite food, how bad traffic had gotten lately. I didn't feel pulled in, but I didn't feel pushed either. It felt like something that would probably go nowhere, and that was fine. He suggested meeting at a small noodle place tucked behind a grocery store plaza. I had been there before with friends. Bright lights, open seating, always busy enough that you don't feel alone. I drove myself because I always do. I like having my own exit. The parking lot was crowded when I arrived. I had to circle twice before finding a spot near the back, squeezed between a pickup truck and a faded sedan. I remember being annoyed because the walk would be longer, that I had worn shoes that rubbed if I walked too far. I locked my car, checked my reflection in the window, and headed inside. He was already seated at a table near the wall. He waved when he saw me and stood up. Polite, relaxed, nothing off. We ordered, sat down, started talking. The place was loud enough that our conversation stayed light, mostly leaning in and smiling, repeating ourselves. About 10 minutes in, he mentioned the parking situation outside. Just a comment about how full it was. I nodded and complained a little about having to park far away. Normal small talk. Then he smiled and said something that made my chest tighten instantly. He mentioned the exact spot, not just the area. The row, the angle, the way my car was slightly crooked because the lines were faded. He laughed like it was a joke, like it was impressive. He said it was easy to find. For a second, I just stared at him. My brain tried to catch up, to fill in a harmless explanation. Maybe he parked nearby. Maybe he saw me walk in. Maybe he was guessing. But the details were too specific. The faded lines, the pickup truck, the long walk. I asked how he knew where I parked. I tried to keep my tone casual, but my voice felt tight. He shrugged and said he noticed things. Said he liked being observant. Said he had arrived early and watched people come in. That explanation didn't help. It made it worse. I felt suddenly aware of the space between us, the table, the chair, the exit behind him, and the kitchen door behind me. I tried to relax my shoulders, but they stayed tense. The rest of the meal continued, but I wasn't fully there anymore. Every bite tasted flat. Every sound felt sharper. I noticed how often he glanced toward the front door, how he sat angled so he could see the whole room. He kept making small jokes about noticing patterns, about remembering faces, about how people think they're invisible when they're not. Every time he said something like that, my stomach twisted tighter. I excused myself to the bathroom just to get a minute alone. Inside, I locked the door and leaned against the sink, staring at myself in the mirror. My face looked normal. Nothing about me looked like I was in danger, but my body felt like it was bracing for something. I checked my phone. No messages, no alerts. I debated leaving right then, just walking out. But part of me didn't want to escalate things. Didn't want to make it obvious I was uncomfortable. I told myself to finish the meal and go. When I came back, he asked if everything was okay. I nodded, sat back down. Then he brought up my car again, joked about how people underestimate how much you can tell from a parking job, how some people rush, some people take their time, some people don't care if they block others in. He said my parking said I was cautious but tired. I didn't laugh. I couldn't. My hands were clenched in my lap, and I didn't even realize it until they started to ache. I asked him again why he paid that much attention. He said it was a habit, said it helped him feel prepared, said he liked knowing his surroundings. Prepared for what? I didn't ask. I didn't want the answer. When the food came, I barely ate. I was watching the door, the windows, the reflection in the glass behind him. I felt like I was trying to memorize escape routes in a place I had never thought twice about before. Eventually, I said I should head out. I told him I had an early morning. He didn't argue. He nodded and said he understood. We stood up together. I grabbed my bag and headed toward the door. He followed. Outside, the night air felt colder than it should have. The parking lot lights cast long shadows across the pavement. My car was visible in the distance, exactly where he said it was. He pointed toward it and joked again about how far I had to walk, said he hoped I didn't mind the extra steps. My heart started pounding hard enough that I could hear it. I told him goodbye and started walking faster than I meant to. He didn't follow, but I felt his eyes on me until I reached my car. I unlocked it quickly and got inside, locking the doors the second they shut. My hands were shaking as I started the engine. I glanced up and saw him still standing near the restaurant entrance, phone in his hand, watching. I drove off without looking back again. On the way home, my phone buzzed. A message from him. He said he hoped I got home safe and that he liked how aware I was. That sentence made my skin crawl. I didn't respond. I blocked him before the light turned green. When I got home, I parked in a different spot than usual. I double-checked my locks. I sat on my couch with all the lights on, listening to every sound outside my door. Nothing happened that night. No knock. No follow-up messages. No surprise. But the next day, I noticed something I couldn't shake. My car had been viewed on a local street camera app. Not reported, just viewed. I couldn't prove it was him, but the timing felt wrong. Over the next few days, I kept replaying the moment in my head. The casual tone, the joke, the way he framed it like a compliment instead of violation. I realized how thin the line is between observant and invasive, how easy it is to disguise one as the other. I still go to that noodle place sometimes, but I park closer now, always under a light, always where I can see my car from inside. And every time someone mentions something they shouldn't know yet, something about me that I didn't offer, my body reacts before my brain does. Because now I know how easy it is to be found when someone decides to look. The first sign something was wrong was the email. It was the silence before it. The kind where an app that usually never shuts up suddenly goes quiet, like it knows something you've done yet. I remember staring at my phone on the bus, refreshing out of habit, and feeling that weird hollow pause where something should be loading but isn't. We matched on Tinder on a night I wasn't even in the mood to meet anyone. I was scrolling more out of muscle memory than hope. Her profile looked clean and friendly. Not flashy. Not intense. Just a few smiling photos, one outside, one indoors, nothing that felt staged. Her bio was short, something about liking casual nights and not taking things too seriously. That line hooked me because I didn't want drama. I wanted easy. We talked for a few days, the kind of back and forth that feels normal. Jokes that didn't try too hard, complaints about work, random thoughts set late at night. Nothing deep enough to feel risky. She didn't push for details, and I didn't either. It felt balanced. We decided to meet at a small outdoor market that popped up on weekends near an old warehouse district. Food stalls, string lights, music playing from somewhere you couldn't see. It felt safe because it was busy and open. I told myself nothing bad happens in places like that. She showed up on time, smiled when she saw me, waved like we already knew each other. Everything about her in person matched her profile. No surprise shifts. No weird vibes. We grabbed food from different stalls and sat at a shared table with other people around us. She asked if we could take a couple pictures together because the lights looked cool. I hesitated but agreed. It felt harmless. I figured a quick photo wasn't a big deal. She took a few on her phone, showing me one briefly. It looked normal, slightly blurry. Nothing I would post, but nothing bad. The night stayed chill. We walked around, talked about nothing important. I noticed she took a few more pictures here and there, not always of us. Sometimes of the food, sometimes of the crowd. I didn't think much of it. People document everything now. After about an hour, the energy dipped. Not awkward, just done. We said goodbye and went separate ways. No big ending. No promise to meet again. Just a normal close. On the ride home, I checked Tinder out of habit. Our chat was still there. No new messages. Everything felt fine. The next morning, I woke up and did my usual scroll. Notifications from other apps, group chats. Nothing important. Then I opened Tinder and got a screen I had never seen before. My account was under review. No explanation. No warning. Just a message saying there had been a report and my account was temporarily locked while it was investigated. My stomach dropped. I sat up in bed and refreshed the app like that would change anything. It didn't. Same message. Same blank screen. A few minutes later, an email came in. It said a complaint had been filed against my account. It said I had violated community guidelines. It didn't say how. I stared at the email, reading it over and over, trying to think of what I could have done wrong. The date replayed in my head like a broken clip. Nothing stood out. No argument. No tension. Nothing. Then another email came in. This one mentioned that photos had been submitted as part of the complaint. My chest tightened. Photos. I thought about the pictures she took, how casual it felt, how little control I had over them once they were on her phone. I tried to appeal immediately, filled out the form, explained that the date was normal, that nothing inappropriate happened. I attached screenshots of our chat, which was still visible on my end. Polite, uneventful. The automated response said the review could take several days. Several days felt like forever. By the afternoon, I realized something else. My profile wasn't just locked. It was invisible. I couldn't message matches. Couldn't explain. Couldn't even delete the account. I was frozen in place digitally. Out of curiosity, I checked her profile through a friend's phone. It was still there, active, updated recently. I didn't message her. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to poke something worse. Later that night, my phone buzzed with a notification from a different app. Someone had viewed my profile, then another. Then a follow request from an account I didn't recognize. I opened it and my heart sank. It was a reposted image. One of the photos from the market. Cropped, angled, taken from a moment where I was mid-expression. Eyes half closed, mouth open like I was saying something out of context. The caption was vague, not accusing directly, just implying discomfort, implying something off. It didn't say what happened. It didn't have to. Comments underneath were already filling in the blanks. I reported the post. It stayed up. I checked Tinder again, still locked. The next day, I got an update email. Tinder said my account would remain restricted until the review was complete. They said they couldn't share details for privacy reasons. Privacy. The word felt ironic. Friends started asking questions. Some had seen the post. Some just noticed I disappeared from Tinder suddenly. I told them something vague, said it was a misunderstanding, said it would get sorted. I didn't feel confident saying that. 2 days later, I got another email. The account was still under review. More time needed. During that time, more screenshots appeared. Not from me, from people discussing the post. My face blurred in some, not blurred in others. Always the same image, always framed to look worse than it was. I felt stuck in a loop where I couldn't respond in the same place where the damage was happening. Finally, on the 4th day, I got an email saying my account had been reinstated. No apology, no explanation. Just that the investigation was complete and my account was unlocked. I opened the app immediately. Everything was back, matches, messages. But something felt off. Like the room looked the same, but the air was different. The post was still up elsewhere. Tinder unlocking me didn't erase that. I'd never heard from her. She never messaged me. Never checked in. Her profile disappeared a week later, either deleted or hidden. I kept thinking about how clean it was. How she didn't need to confront me. Didn't need to argue. Didn't need proof beyond framing. The system did the rest. Nothing about the date felt dangerous while it was happening. That's the part that sticks. How normal everything felt right up until it didn't. I still use Tinder now, but I don't let anyone take photos anymore. Not of me. Not with me. I but care how harmless it seems. Because now I know how easy it is to freeze someone out of their own version of events. The sound my phone made was loud, but it cut straight through me. Not a ring, not a buzz. Just that soft notification click that usually means nothing. I was already halfway down the sidewalk when it happened, still feeling that post-date weirdness where you're replaying little moments and wondering if you're overthinking them. Then my screen lit up and everything snapped into focus in a way I didn't want. We matched on Tinder on a boring afternoon when I was skipping between apps, not really invested in any of it. His profile felt safe. Too safe maybe, but I didn't notice that yet. Clear photos, friendly smile, nothing intense. His bio talked about liking simple plans and not dragging things out. I liked that. I was tired of drawn-out conversations that went nowhere. We talked for about a week. Steady messages, no big gaps, no love bombing. He asked about my routine, my schedule, where I like to go when I needed quiet. I answered without thinking because it didn't feel invasive. He answered too, but his answers were always shorter than mine, cleaner, like he didn't give extra. We decided to meet at a small art gallery that stayed open late on weekends. White walls, concrete floors, big windows facing the street. It felt public and neutral, the kind of place where you could walk out at any point without making it weird. I got there first and walked through the space slowly, pretending to look at the art while really just scanning the exits. Old habit. When he arrived, he didn't wave or smile big. He just walked up and said hi like we were already in the middle of something. It felt calm. We walked through the gallery together, stopping at a few pieces, making comments that didn't matter. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing felt exciting either. Just flat. Like two people who matched because the app said they should, not because there was anything pulling them together. He talked for more than I expected, but not emotionally. More observational. Comments about how people stand closer to art they like, how others rush through rooms. He kept pointing out patterns. It felt harmless at first. About 30 minutes in, I knew I wanted to leave. Not because of fear, just because the energy was there. I didn't feel curious about him anymore. I didn't feel anything. I told him I was probably going to head out soon. I expected a normal reaction, a shrug, maybe relief. Instead, he paused in front of one of the pieces and looked at me for a second too long. Then he said something that didn't land right. He said it was interesting how people decide when something is over. I laughed lightly and said sometimes you just know. He nodded like I had confirmed something. We walked toward the front of the gallery together. My keys were already in my hand. I felt fine, calm, ready to go. Right before we reached the door, he said he hoped I wouldn't regret leaving early. Not in a threatening way, just casually like it was a normal thing to say. I told him I would. I wished him a good night and pushed the door open. The air outside felt cooler and louder. Traffic, footsteps, voices from a bar down the street. I took a few steps away from the entrance, my shoulders dropping now that I was done being polite. That's when my phone clicked. I looked down without thinking, expecting a text from my friend who knew where I was. Instead, my screen showed the Tinder logo for half a second before it vanished. Logged out. I frowned and tried to open the app again. It asked me to sign in. Before I could, a notification slid across the top of the screen. Match review completed. I stopped walking. My heart started pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. I stood there on the sidewalk while people walked around me, bumping past, laughing, talking, lived their normal nights. I opened my email. Nothing yet. I tried logging back into Tinder, error message. Account under review. My stomach dropped. I leaned against the wall of the gallery, my legs suddenly feeling weak. The timing felt too exact, too clean. I thought about the date, every word, every pause, every look. Nothing dramatic stood out. No argument, no tension. Just that flat, observant calm. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email. It said my account activity had been reviewed following a recent interaction. It said no further action was required at this time. It thanked me for my patience. No explanation, no detail, just that it was done. I felt cold all over, not scared exactly, unsettled, like something important had happened without me being part of it. I tried logging in again. This time it worked. My account was back, messages visible, matches still there, like nothing happened. Except it did. I checked his profile. Gone. Not unmatched. Gone completely, like he never existed. I stood there for a long time staring at my phone, trying to understand how an app could know I was leaving, how a review could finish at the exact second I walked away. I walked to my car slowly, checking over my shoulder even though I didn't know what I was checking for. I unlocked the door and sat inside without starting the engine, just breathing. On the drive home, I kept refreshing my email, half expecting another message. Nothing came. When I got home, I kicked my shoes off and sat on my couch, phone in my hands, replaying the night, the gallery, the comments about patterns, the way he nodded when I said I just knew. I opened Tinder again, scrolling aimlessly. Everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Every profile felt like it could disappear mid-sentence, like some invisible process was always running in the background, watching, scoring, deciding. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I checked my account history, the little security log buried in settings. There was an entry timestamp minutes before I left the gallery. Review initiated. Then one timestamped exactly when I got the notification. Review completed. My name wasn't mentioned. His wasn't either. Just data. I thought about how easy it would be to flag someone. How you don't need to accuse, just suggest. How systems are built to act fast and quietly. Nothing else happened after that. No follow-up. No warning. My account stayed active. But I didn't feel relief. I felt watched in a way I couldn't explain to anyone without sounding dramatic. I kept thinking about how calm he was, how unbothered, how he didn't react when I left, like he already knew what would happen next. I didn't delete Tinder that night. I just closed it and set my phone face down on the table. For days after, every notification made my stomach tighten. Every time the app loaded slowly, I expected to be logged out again. Every time a date started to feel off, I wondered how much power someone else had over how it ended. I never saw him again, never heard from him. No message, no explanation. But sometimes when I end a conversation or stand up from a table, I feel that same tension in my chest, like something is being processed somewhere I can't see. And every time my phone clicks, even softly, I remember that line. Match review completed.